All right, everyone. Whew. Haven't done this in a little while. Hopefully the setup and everybody can hear me okay. Welcome back to Random Side Quest. My name is Chili. I run the channel here, and it happened. The game came out. All of us that are here have played this thing. All in all, I'm pretty darn happy with what we got. But yeah, I'm really just excited to talk to everybody in real time. The chat's already been kind of active even since I wasn't streaming, so I see all the people populating in here fine, which is awesome. Hello, everybody. We got Purple Platypus, we got Jessica, we got Blue Jay, Owl, Cake Assassin, that's a great name. Russell, thank you guys so much for coming on. Sweet is here, big friend of the channel. But yeah, whew, like I was saying, here we are, and we played Forbidden West. Hopefully, if the thumbnail and the title of this video was any indication, yeah, so this is going to be an incredibly spoiler-heavy podcast. Or not podcast, it's a live stream. I'm so used to doing random sidecasts, which hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Been really awesome connecting with some fellow creators in the Horizon community. But yeah, I want to dive into all your questions and thoughts, and just so you guys know as far as where I am at in the game, because I really wanted to make sure that I didn't burn myself out, and that I, overall still very much enjoy playing the game. I have not 100%ed it yet. I have not collected all the data points yet, but I'm around 85% completion, and I do have quite a few data points. Interestingly enough, though, I really do think that so much of the best information in the game, and this is a testament to the people who made it, are just all the side quest and main quest dialogue, because it's so jam-packed full of just really awesome lore and world building and just the little details that I just latch onto. But yeah, I'm here to talk about it. I'm here to get into it with you guys. I already saw some speculation going on in the early going, and I'm glad that got brought up, because there's some interesting data points out there as well. I'm super excited to kind of see where the game goes. Yeah. Divergent, 105 hours so far, still feels fresh. Yeah, the game is so big, and they did a really good job making even the things that were in the first game feel unique from one another. Like, I feel that every tall neck that you tackled was different. Every cauldron you tackled was uniquely different. So all in all, it was just really they took the time to make sure that the replayability was there. I really like the salvage contracts. I like the workbench system. I think it really pushes you to hunt in different ways, where you'd normally just kind of go after the same pieces every time. You're like, no, I need a sack webbing, so I can't go after that, like the obvious targets. I could have to work around. It's almost an additional challenge there. So it looks like we got some stuff in here. All right, here we go. Have you scanned the mysterious numbers glyph? And if so, have you any idea what it could be? I have scanned that glyph. It is very cryptic. I'm going to be diving into that a little bit more when I... It's funny that every single data point you find and every side quest you do, it feels like you gain a greater sense of perspective of what's going on. If I remember correctly... I think they're Oseram glyphs. I have, it's funny. The people on the Wiki are working overtime right now, which is pretty nuts. I tried to do my civil duty as part of the lore community. I'm not good at Wiki stuff, but I did contribute quite a bit to the Quen page. So I am trying to do my civic duty a little bit instead of just piggybacking off of all their hard work of documentation and all that stuff. But yeah, that is a really interesting scanned glyph. And it's a scanned glyph, right? So it was recorded by somebody of the 31st century, which is really interesting. So once that pulls up for me, we can talk about that a little bit. Let's see what else we have here. I'm 120 hours in and not done with Forbidden West, and I love it. Yeah, it's pretty great. Maggie, yeah, the VS data point hints at game 3. Yeah, so they were talking a little bit about that before the chat started. I kind of popped in there, and I was happy somebody made that connection too. So there's a couple that at least that I found so far that do discuss Vast Silver. So if those who are a little bit disappointed that Vast Silver didn't appear heavily in this game, fret not. It seems like that's still going to be in the plans for later. There's a data point called Vast or Past Silver, which is the very last world data point you can collect. And if you want to get it, it's right by where you collect the Cyclops drone in the Isle of Spires. So it's pretty hard to miss if you make the climb and you do it that way. So if you want to get it yourself, that's where it is. And also there's one a little bit about Peter. Oh my gosh, this last name, it's gonna take a while. Tisharumbe, I believe. We're basically talking about his life, and he's the founder of Zenith, and they kind of made this connection in the comments, which is very clever. I'm always impressed and never surprised at how like in tune the community is with the storytelling. That it refers to Vast Silver as the singularity, and that just happens to be like the name of the last quest. So I think there's some definite foreshadowing going on there. Oh no, I forgot to scan the Tilda armor. Now I can't get the platinum. That's rough. Yeah, I found myself having to go back and rescan, or actually it's not even rescan, but re-find some machines because I didn't scan them in the first place. So that could hold me back. We'll see if they do anything like with patches and things like that. Because I think like if you fought, Tilda and the Spectre Prime or whatever it's called, yeah, you should get the platinum. Bryn is mentioned near a campfire with some dead Osram nearby. Yeah, there's actually glyphs that refer to Bryn and Gildan, which is pretty cool. So if anybody was hoping to see those characters at least mentioned in this game, they do make an appearance in the lore, which I thought was really cool. It's like this Osram who's talking about a dam, and a redhead is like, I know who you are. Let's see here. I guess Quen is in China because they talk about a delta. Yeah, it's hard, and I've thought about this, to really pinpoint at this moment in time where the Quen are from, because we only know the location of 2 more cradle facilities for certain, right? One is in China, and the other one is in Mozambique, which is in Africa. And I was looking into both, and they've, Mozambique has had trouble with like severe flooding in the past, which doesn't completely write that off as a possibility as to where they could come from. The problem with calculating where the Quen come from is the fact that this wasn't a random exploratory expedition, right? So this wasn't something that we set out to cross the ocean, and wherever we landed, that's where we landed, right? San Francisco was always the destination. And they tapped into 21st century technology, through knowledge of the legacy. Then they actually implemented that technology through something called a gyro compass, and were able to successfully navigate their way across the ocean using that technology. So if it hadn't been for the severe weather systems, I think that their flotilla would have made much better progress without sustaining significant losses, because they really did have a good way and a good handle of getting going on this expedition. But the destination was always San Francisco, so it's hard to make that determination right off the bat. But I do find the Quen fascinating. I talked a little bit about this with Jor on the podcast of like what it would be like to have a society that actually came across focuses to begin with, like very early on, and that's really what the Quen are, which is very cool. All right. Have you thought about the lore importance of the black boxes? Yeah, so the black boxes are really interesting. This game really makes the struggle of enduring victory just so vivid and real and sad and tragic. Um, it's just overall the data points that you find, whether they're the black boxes, you get a few on side quests. Speaking of the gyro compass, where you hear some testimony from the naval forces that are going against the swarm, and just the hopeless struggle of these incredibly brave individuals. I'll have to look into the deeper story behind them, but I will be covering the black boxes in more detail and just Enduring Victory as a whole, because we did get a decent amount of lore in the first game about Enduring Victory, but like I talked a little bit about it in the past. Horizon Zero Dawn, the location in which it takes place, is essentially the last stand of humanity, where Forbidden West takes place is like perhaps the height of the conflict. So just to see how much war wreckage and how intense that is, it was really something. But yeah, I think there's a definite possibility that I'm seeing, the Quen and the fact that they have an emperor and things like that. It's interesting how they're influenced so heavily by, when you only have information from the early 2050s at best, which is like, hey, everything's good. It's the clawback. Look at how these great people doing great things. It's a very one-sided information stream, and that's only kind of bottlenecked up by the way their system works, where only the board of overseers really gets a complete view of the legacy, which is then narrowed down to make sure that the information isn't heretical, and then it becomes forbidden knowledge, and then the accepted knowledge is passed on to diviners, which can then be passed on to different individuals, but generally not only to one individual, because to avoid capture from people, they don't want too much information being held with any one person. So they're really interesting across the board. Let's see here. HCD is sci-fi, period. Yeah, that's one thing where it's funny, because it is, right? But I said this a little bit. I popped into Kirsty's stream the other day, and by the way, if you haven't subbed to her, she's getting close to 4,000, so you should do that. That it was really that they went like fast and furious into it, more than the first game. So it was all interesting. Groove Charge, your opinion on Nemesis? Yeah. So here's where I stand on Nemesis. It was. I really want to phrase this correctly, because I'm really trying to make sure that I take the time and I'm not biased to the headcanon that I've created for myself over the past 5 years, right? And it's one of those things where, man, you have all these theories and things and workarounds, and then it turns out to be something that nobody could have predicted, because it's new, right? The source was off planet. So, people could say it's like, well, the Odyssey was correct. It's like nobody was 1,000,000%, or nobody was 100% correct, right? Because yes, it was the actions of the Odyssey project that led to the creation of Nemesis, and then Nemesis, in an effort to thwart the Zeniths kind of resupplying and taking safe haven on Earth, said, okay, well, I'm just going to burn this place to the ground. So we still have that to deal with, and I have no idea how we're going to deal with Nemesis. So I'm trying to reserve judgment on Nemesis for the time. The more data points I read, the more interesting it becomes. But if you're just going through the game and not getting any of the ancillary content, I think it can be kind of jarring. Overall, I was surprised by the ending. But with the foreshadowing and things that are, we still know very little about Nemesis, so I don't want to, be like, oh gosh, that was amazing, or write it off right away, because we still have so much to know about it. So sorry for that non-committal answer. Hello, Kirsty, welcome to the chat. Yeah, some people are saying it came out of left field, and I get it. I really do. I was a little bit like, because you have this reveal that. Here's what I will say. I'm very happy that the source of the signal was not the individuals of Far Zenith, because I always thought that was just a little too mustache twirly, like, haha, we're evil, so we don't care about anybody here, so we're just gonna be evil and do evil things, evil, evil, evil. So, and I'm never interested in those kind of villains. They seem really one-dimensional to me. Even people like Ted Pharaoh, who are remarkably unlikable. And I think, yeah, and we can get into the whole Thebes thing as well later. It's, the thing about Ted Pharaoh is I think he's evil in the sense that he's not like pure evil, but he's perhaps the most self-interested person that's ever lived. And in that, and prioritizing himself and what he does and he needs and his legacy over everything else is a pretty evil thing. But there's complexity to that. So I'm more for that than just pure evil. And there's a place for that, right? Like I'm a big fan of Tolkien and and Star Wars, and there's like this embodiment of evil and things like that. But I just don't think that's the place for this, because this is a very human story. Let's see what else we got here. Do you think there is more or less world lore in Horizon Forbidden West? Okay, so this is the thing. I think there's actually more world lore in Horizon Forbidden West. However, it's different, right? Horizon Zero Dawn had the job of establishing the ground rules of this world, right, from the very beginning. So I think that there's a lot there to kind of get into, where you're discovering everything for the first time, and it seems really, really big. But the more that you read into, Forbidden West, there's not only a ton of old world lore that kind of either answers things or makes things more interesting or fleshes things out. I think that all of this stuff in the 31st century they did as well. The game is just so big. And it might not be more, but I think it's on par with the world building. And that was some of my favorite stuff in this game, was all the stuff with the tribes. I think the world seems so alive and vibrant and lived in. And I just really, really enjoyed how they went about doing that stuff. Yeah, it's interesting. Aubrey says, yeah, the Thebes quest was downright bizarre. Here, the one thing that they doubled down on, which I didn't expect them to double down on because it was only mentioned so briefly in Zero Dawn, was the life extension therapies, right? They really, really doubled down on that. Which, if you kind of go through the backlog of the story and kind of re-examine it after playing the whole game, it doesn't make sense. It might not have been the direction that I chose to go, but because there's a data point, I think it's in the Frozen Wild, called Beverly Hills Terror Attack, and it talks a little bit about life extension therapies. And it seems like from the onset, now looking back and having some additional context, that number one, the concept of immortality in some facet has always been attractive to the founder of Far Zenith, right? And then you have that paired with a couple different... There's an interesting one that you find in Dune Hollow about a lady called Miss Olivia that I found pretty cheeky, because it could not be this, but it seems like it's leaning towards this, where they're essentially talking about this woman who kind of makes her career off of fleecing really, really rich, terrible people. And the person writing the letter is like, don't tell them about it. That's their choice. She's going to do what she's going to do. But they talk about her going in for some more procedures, and this woman who's in her 60s doesn't look much older than 30, right? So the life extension therapy, even on a commercial basis, might have been more prevalent than we had known before. But yeah, the Thebes thing, in my head, I had always imagined Ted Pharaoh almost withering away by himself, because I always like the concept of, like, if you strip away all of the societal importance that you have with all the money and the achievements you've had, you're fundamentally left by yourself, because I don't think Ted Pharaoh is a person who ever particularly found any manner of love, whether it was romantic or platonic, or any kind of dear friendships, just because of the person he was. So I kind of like the concept of him at the end of the day having no one and stewing on that until he died. Kind of poetic justice for him. But also him suffering alive and mutated for 1,000 years isn't bad either. But yeah, it's the Thebes quest, because I was, from the story trailer, right, I thought we were going to Thebes, right? And I was really excited for that. This place that I've wanted to visit for a long time. And yeah, it wasn't what I expected. But like I said, you never want to be let down because it wasn't exactly how you imagined it. And I appreciate the writers taking big swings opposed to just trying to play it safe. You know, you want to play the game to win. You don't want to play the game to not lose, I guess. I wonder if Ted was self-aware or just a monster. Yeah, in that moment, yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah, that's the thing about, like, with these life extension therapies and things like that. I always wonder, it's like, even if your physical body is technically still running at full operation, like, how long is a human mind designed to function as it was intended? How do you change over 1,000 years? You know, do you become kind of a sociopathic person? Are you kind of devoid of emotion? At what point do you stop caring, or how would that manifest? I think that is interesting to kind of think about. What was your favorite side quest? Ask recreational drama. That's a good question. Even though it doesn't start off as a side quest, if you look at any of my past live streams, and this is something I want to applaud the folks at Gorilla for. If you go back to any of my live streams and people ask, where did you want to go in Forbidden West? Every time I said Las Vegas. And talk about exceeding my expectations so much. That has been by far and away my favorite part of the game. The NPCs you meet there, Moreland and Stemmer, and they're just like, the NPCs are so good and they're so vibrant, and the lore they created around Las Vegas was so good and amazing between Stanley and kind of like how Vegas was resurrected from the brink, and even how he like was down on his luck and he turned it around in Vegas and he fell in love with the city. And yeah, it was just, that is my, yeah, I was just, as I played it, I couldn't stop smiling when you went down there and it was underwater, and then when you drained it, and then when you turn the system on and it's there, and then you find all the ornaments, and you get to see the Night of Lights holiday promotion, and you can change the way that it looks. Like, it makes me so happy that was done so well, and it was done so much better than anything else that I could have expected. It was just so good. And yeah, I really do think, for as much as they did with the world and the lore, the characters that you experienced it with were so important, right? Because Moreland is so full of wonder and hope and aspiration, and Stemmer is this, just like, talk about a character that you just, for me, I find him captivating, right? Is he's just, just to think about, like, this Oseram wordsmith, going from town to town. So he's a bard. And oh man, I can never pronounce the last guy's name, the numbers guy, Emundund, I think, or something. I'll get it. But I also love the fact, because I've always had this thought experiment in my head. It's like, if aliens landed in Vegas, and nobody was there, what would you make of it? Because you have, like, architecture taken from ancient Rome and Egypt and, the Dark Ages, and you also have wave pools and volcanoes, and it's just such a weird place. And I kind of love the fact that it's just Vegas, and it will always be Vegas. And that is just, yeah, it's, yeah, it was so good. Edmund, yeah. Or oh my gosh, yeah. See, Abadund, there it is. Thank you. Yeah, Ron. It's funny. Like, I have to keep reminding myself, because I have my quick reference book that I have been filling up with all manner of Forbidden West notes in here that are just from all the side quest dialogue, and I'm like, man, I can't get these names clicking yet, and I have to remind myself that I've only been playing the game for maybe like a month, where I had 5 years to get all this stuff to solidify in my mind for Zero Dawn. So I'm enjoying the game tremendously. That's been by far and away my favorite part of the game. Even the side quests there, right? Like when I think they're called like Lofty Ambitions, or that quest where you go up in the hot air balloon. Like, that's a side quest. It was so cool. Like, it had like its own cutscenes, and it's just, oh man, like everything there has been just amazing. Groove Charge, you ask, what do I think about beta? She grew on me as the story went on, because I'm not gonna lie, when I never liked the idea of a second clone of Elizabeth. It was something that I kind of wrote off a lot, of like, yeah, maybe, possibly. I don't think it's gonna happen. I made this offhanded remark in the trailer breakdown that I did. It was like, well, if you wanted to get into facilities, if you just make another alpha clone, then you could probably make that happen, not knowing that that's kind of what they did. Yeah, it's pretty. I do like the arc that they took. I like the arc that a lot of the characters took, where you're breaking down why Aloy is the way that she is. And as much as she embodies Elizabeth, both Aloy and Elizabeth, because Aloy touches on it, like the impact that Rost had on her, and how she kind of she actually had a childhood. She faced adversity, and she was able to, make these things happen through Rost and his teachings. And Elizabeth also had that through her mother, Miriam Technologies, and who really instilled this self-confidence and self-worth in this person. And that's something Beta never had, because she was made as an instrument, a tool. And I can't imagine what that would be like. And then you have somebody who you thought cared about you, and Tilda kind of leave you high and dry. She'll say for her own safety, but I think it's hinted towards the fact that ultimately she wanted Beta to be Elizabeth and then was let down. So I think she's a little bit of a tragic character, and it gives Aloy perhaps a greater sense of family than she's ever had before. So I'm interested to see where it goes. Originally, I was taken aback. I wasn't a fan, but definitely got better. Sweet. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Is Horizon Forbidden West a good second installment to a bigger narrative, in your opinion? Do you think that it will be conductive to more than a trilogy, considering the setup of Horizon Forbidden West? And thank you for the great work as always. Well, thank you, Sweet. You're such a wonderful contributor to the channel, and we appreciate you being part of the community. Yeah, it's always hard to make a really good, like, compelling standalone sequel, especially if it's a bridge to something else, right? There's very few, just kind of off the top of my head in lexicon of pop culture, that really stick out to me as far as like really great second installments. Like The Empire Strikes Back. I think that's a perfect example of how a sequel actually, in my opinion, exceeded the one that came first. But also, like, unpopular opinion, I love The Two Towers. It's my favorite book. It's my favorite movie of the trilogy, which, a lot of people disagree with that. But, these bridge kind of stories are difficult to handle. I'm glad that they picked a direction and then they went for it. I have no idea how long Nemesis has been in the works, because now that you have all this information, you're trying to look back and re-examine things and see what was important and what wasn't. But yeah, like for my money, there was no real way of finding out about Nemesis, because it happened off-world in this kind of dark patch of lore that kind of exists where the terraforming process was happening. There's no humans recording it. There's very little data about it. Yeah. Do you think the DLC might touch upon the fate of the Elysium facility? Yeah, so the Elysium facility I found really interesting to find out that it did not make it the expected century it was intended to. It went offline. So I know I've read somewhere that's maybe they went through their resources faster than was kind of intended, and they starved to death. And that was always kind of like a crazy, like, oh, here's your golden ticket, you get to live. It's like, yay. It's the fate of those in Elysium I find really, really interesting. And yeah, I think overall it's, I hope they touch on it, but that could just be a throwaway line that we're going to be speculating on forever. So I don't want to get your hopes up by saying it might be included in a DLC. I do hope that we find out more about it because, you know, those are the people who made it happen, right? Tyler Boyce, who doesn't love the Battle of Helm's Deep? I know. It's so good. Let's see here. Yeah, my favorite action movie of all time is Aliens. Yeah, and that's talk about... Yeah, anyway, we're here to talk about Horizon. I do love movies. I love talking about all that kind of stuff. What if Nemesis is Vast Silver? Well, Dame, that's the reason why I want to kind of hold my reservations back on Nemesis, because there are a lot of parallels between Vast Silver and Nemesis, and whether or not, like, you know, if I was just speculating right now and it's really, really early on, I would say the primary personality in Nemesis would be Peter, the founder of Far Zenith. And even though he passed away before the Odyssey took off, there's data indicating that he was experimenting with the process of digital transcendence before the end of the world, right? He was getting into those kind of things beforehand. So it wouldn't surprise me if he found a way to immortalize himself in this way. And they talk about Vast Silver kind of being the precedent for that possibility. And I think that that'll probably be the primary personality. Vast Silver, I'm still hopeful that will pan out in some way in the next game. Because for my money, Vast Silver is one of the most compelling pieces of lore that Horizon has. So if they didn't do that, if they didn't explore it more, if they only teased it and used it as a red herring, I think it'd be pretty sad. KK, I think of Elysium, I think of every Fallout vault ever. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Thoughts on Plainsong? Yeah, so love the Utaru. I think, and it's fun, you know, when I say things like that, people are like, well, you know, their culture and you know, they're very political and they're kind of, you know, they have this weird... When I say any kind of culture, like, I love the Quen, because as flawed as they are, I think that makes them wildly compelling. If you liked everything about every tribe, I think it would be pretty vanilla, right? I think that the world building that they've done has been so good. And I love the stuff with the, you know, the land gods and the music intertwining, and the fact that it was built on the Western Grand Array, and why it's so plentiful, being the site of what was supposed to be the automated farmland for the regional Command Center 9. Like, all that stuff intertwining, I thought they did a really good job. So I really did like Plainsong. And as kind of a reveal, that will be the subject of the first Legends episode back. Will be an exploration on the Utaru. So there you go for that. That'll be I'm excited. I'm writing it as we speak, and we'll talk a little bit about later when to expect that. Let's see here. Will Aloy ever visit the Odyssey? Would be mind-blowing environments to find her in. Yeah, man. I'm like this is as close to space as I want to get. I think if Sylens wants to go up there, or I think with the technology that's at the Far Zenith base, I'm pretty sure you could extract any piece of information from the Odyssey on world. So I don't think so, but I've been wrong before. My favorite tribes are the most horrible people because style. It's it's you need compelling characters kind of on both the good end of the spectrum and bad end of the spectrum to kind of see what's going on there. Why do you think that the subordinate functions went to California? Some of them went to California. Obviously, Poseidon went to Nevada. And then you have they don't really get into where Eleuthia, Artemis, and, well, one of them, you can look at. I do really appreciate them doing this in the game, where they have like the character log and they have the where you can look at the individual subfunctions, and some of them say they escaped into the Forbidden West, and others, there was like, I think Apollo was not there. It just says escaped somewhere. So not all of them went to California. I can't remember off the top of my head which ones were which. I think because they talk a little bit about, at least for the part of San Francisco, that it really did become this tech hub, right? And a lot of California is known for that. So you had Demeter going to, the Pharaoh Automated Solutions facility of the greenhouse, which will also be a subject of our exploration of a Legends video, kind of exploring metal flowers and Adamantine Wreath. I kind of want to do that as my third video, because I'm pretty sure the metal flowers is my third Legends video ever. So, I think that'd be kind of a cool full circle thing. I think that it's mostly because a lot of tech facilities were west. Pharaoh was kind of broke the mold a little bit. You find this out in a data point where he's like, why are you guys building on, they call it the tech archipelago, which was one of my favorite data points. And he's like, no, we're just going to make it so Silicon Valley's in Utah. And he just received like super great tax benefits and made so much more money moving his corporate headquarters there. So I think that there's, generally a decent amount of infrastructure where, people could flee, or subfunctions could flee to. Let's see here. New Game Plus equals not yet. Yeah, I hope that that comes really soon, because I want to do game capture from the beginning, and kind of as we go. The problem with doing game capture on my first kind of go through of the game, and my wife will tell you this because it justifiably probably annoyed her, was the fact that, somebody would say something and then I'd pause the game and then I'd write it down in here and then I'd unpause it and then I'd pause it again and scribble down what they said, because, there's no telling. That the only gripe that I ever have with Horizon is the fact that you never are fully confident in the things that you're only going to get to hear once or see once. Like, Gorilla, I love you. Please make all holograms reviewable. Just somewhere, please. Like, in the data points. Like, I was so hoping that in the base, the room that Alva ends up setting shop in, like, you could go in there and essentially view the holograms of everybody. Like, that would have been my greatest hope for that room. So in the future, if you could just make all holograms reviewable, if you take the time to go back there, if you take the time to find them again, just let us click it again. Just let us high-five the console and watch it. That's like my only gripe. I'm not sure if I'm alone in that, but that would make me very happy. RSQ, did you find the Banuk shaman, or was he not in the West like he said? I didn't find him, but there is a data point of people who did find Bryn, so he did make it to the Forbidden West. We do know that. I haven't found him. If he is there, I haven't seen him yet, but he did make it, and he is drinking machine blood as ever. Let's see here. A little disappointed by that room. Thought we'd be able to see all the HZD data points. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe. Hey, Gorilla, DLC. You want to throw that in there for us massive lore nerds who just want to see everything again? That'd make me like the happiest fanboy on the planet. Let's see here. And what happened to the boxes on the compasses to indicate data points? I missed that feature. Yeah, I find myself the world data points have always been the hardest ones to find. I will say that kind of getting back to when the Legends is coming back, I will be waiting until I have the game guide in my possession before I get after it, because if it's anything like the game guide for the first game, there's so much just additional content in there, and also it gives you all the locations for all the data points, right? So going through that, and I know that some guides have been out there. I need to do better research into seeing if people have discovered all the world ones, because I'll just go grab those soon. But so I think the game guide comes out on the 22nd of this month. So got to read through that, supplement all the script writing that I've done, and add more to it. Did you meet Nil yet? Yes, I went back and I did that. Yeah, I understand why people are like, why is he in the game? You had an option of killing him. Yeah, it's... I always liked Nil. I did not kill him in my playthrough. So I liked seeing him there, but I understand why it didn't make sense, or why... I think Elk and I talked a little bit about this, was essentially like... they probably didn't expect him to be a fan favorite, so they gave you the option of killing him, and then everybody's like, oh, we love Nil, let's ship Nil and Aloy. They're like, oh, I guess we got to find a way to bring him back. So, and looking back, Ben McCaw did hint at a character closely associated with Sunstone Rock Prison returning in Forbidden West. Little did we know that it would actually be Nil. Let's see. I'm only missing a handful of data points, but all the guides I check are missing those two. Yeah, so that's like that's the thing. It's, you want to, the game guide will clear that up real good, real good. Regalla is still roaming around in my base. Yeah, so I killed Regalla. I don't know. Like, unpopular opinion, if you ever played Ghost of Tsushima, I killed Lord Shimura. So I'm very much like, with these like warriors who are like, just do it. You're like, okay, this is what they want. So, yeah. Yes, let's see. Nil never dies. Yeah, listen. So Nil and Fashav are like the only known survivors of the Battle of Sidibar Sands, which you can now go to because there is a tall neck there, but there's a big battle there between the Karja and the Tenakth. And apparently, according to Karja, there were like no survivors, and Nil survived, and I'm pretty sure Fashav was in that battle. That's where he got captured. So Nil has died before. So it's kind of his thing. So, yeah. Yeah, I guess he never dies. Yeah, Kirsty, on a killing spree. Yeah, whoopsies. It's fine. I killed Lord Shimura too. Killed a little part of my soul though. Yeah, talk about like a powerful like, because when looking back on why I killed Regalla, it wasn't about Regalla really. It was like about Hikaru, honestly. It's war. She's doing what she has to do, and talk about like using every means available to her. Using chemical warfare essentially with the polluted river against the lowland Tenakth. She's using, these the overridden machines, and yeah, too dangerous to be left alive, in the words of Mace Windu. Let's see here. Ain't King Avad wanting to marry Aloy something to hinder all the shipping with Aloy? My opinion, and I stand by this as much as anything else, is the fact that Aloy is busy. Aloy has not had any downtime. I don't think that it is a priority in her mind at all to find that person. And I think very much similar to Elizabeth, right? I mean, Elizabeth had that a little bit, towards the end of her life with Tilda. But even that, she both of them in different ways bore the weight of the world on their shoulders, and I can't imagine what that would be like and how that would, because you're literally like, you can't, it's like you're one person, you can't change the world. These people actually can change the world, and they care. So it's, yeah, she's busy. All right, Matt Rowland, welcome. Let's see here. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I'm with you, Fair Lord. It's like, she doesn't need it. I think she's a compelling standalone character, and I know that's just, I think we're so used to in open world RPGs having that option. I think that some people are just kind of like, and you love Aloy so much and you want her to find happiness that you're like, they would be great together. I just want her to be happy. But I think she'll be happy when the job's done. I think that's very much like Elizabeth was at peace with her decision when she went back to Sobek Ranch and met her inevitable end. It's just, being at peace, I think, is probably the best that Aloy would hope for. Do you think getting Apollo back will affect the third game, like a sudden jump forward in technology for weapons or for the tribes? I would say, I think it will have definite implications. I think Sylens is going to hold on to that thing for himself for a good long while before letting it out to the world. The Apollo archive is something that is interesting. I've always thought, like, even if you have it and people can see it, who will be willing to accept it? And I think people like the Osram, obviously, the Quen, obviously, the Quen to a certain extent, I suppose. But people like the Nora, I don't think would want anything to do with it. I don't think the Banuk are particularly interested. I think that it would be kind of like back and forth. The Karja, I think, would probably see it, and it depends. I think with Avad at the helm, it might be a little bit better than if Duran was at the helm or any kind of Karja traditionalist. And also, like, how do you get the word out there, right? I'd like to see kind of... The regional command center is a really interesting subject to me because you have... It kind of confirmed my suspicions that humans were indeed supposed to take control of a lot of the aspects of the terraforming system. We got hinted to that in the first game through Artemis, but then just kind of knowing that... this is kind of where humans were supposed to go and it never happened is tragic. But how it will be implemented in the next game, I don't think that we're going to see a huge leap. But, I think the tribes who would accept it would absolutely have a leg up and probably dominate the world going forward. So other tribes would unfortunately probably go by the wayside. Let's see here. How did you find the variance feature for the machines? I actually liked it. It's funny that looking back, you're like, oh, that's not a Claw Strider. That's like that has fire on it. And everybody was both right and wrong. I guess you're like, because people were right. It wasn't the Claw Strider that we saw, but it's also a Claw Strider. I didn't mind that. I think it's a good way to make fights more interesting it's a good, efficient use of the resources that you're given as a developer, I think. And it does make the fights different, right? I think the Acid Claw Strider and the Fire Claw Strider and the Normal Claw Strider, they're all just a little bit different. Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I think the gameplay is much improved overall. I'll say that. There's some things from Zero Dawn that I think I liked, and there's some things from this that I don't use that often. You have the option, and there's some skills that you're like that you really use all the time and you love, and there's some skills that you're like, it's nice, I'll play around with it, but yeah. Random side quest. How's the plan on getting help from the tribes spreading the word of Nemesis going to go, or what are your thoughts on it? With this kind of threat, I don't know what most of the tribes can do to help. Maybe the Osram would probably be beneficial, and the Quen would probably be in the best position to do anything. I think you're dealing with a lot of nanotechnology there. I think it's hinted at a lot just through the use of Far Zenith and what they're using nanotechnology for, and that's a really scary thing, being that was a big reason why the world ended in the first place. I think that that's the thing. I just don't know how you make this threat beatable without a counter piece of technology to make it happen. You still have Hephaestus out there creating more dangerous machines. If Hephaestus meets up with Nemesis, that could be interesting. But it's like, how do you fight Nemesis? But also, it talks about Nemesis being able to, like, basically having this ultimate element of surprise against Far Zenith, because it is far Zenith. It knows all of the fail safes and it knows all of the backup codes and the weaknesses, and was just able to destroy everything they'd built on Sirius in a very short amount of time. So how it would approach destroying Earth would be interesting, because it doesn't have that inherent knowledge of what the world is like now. It probably has all the memories of what the Zeniths left on Earth, but how it would approach destroying the planet is interesting into itself. It might also try resurrecting the Pharaoh swarm. I think it would probably be far more capable of doing that than even Hades was able to do it. But you know, from a story standpoint, that he's like, well, we're doing this again. So I'm interested to see how the threat manifests itself to then be defeated. What will happen in DLC? Any opinion? I am here for a Quen DLC. That's what I want. I want to hop on a ship of the flotilla and go wherever they're going, right? Go full Solstheim like in Skyrim, give it its own like mini map. You go there, you sail across the ocean. That's what I want. That would be a really cool DLC for me. Let's see here. What form it takes is unclear, but basically a Zenith AI conglomeration. Yeah, I just don't know how it's going to manifest itself on Earth, right? Right now, it's a big, scary red ball, much like Hades was a big, scary red ball. So there's some definite parallels there, and, you know, it kind of makes sense that there would be, as, you know, it talked about Gaia, like Hades being the primary beneficiary of AI sentience, and the other ones were just kind of like a almost collateral damage that they were made into AI. I'm not sure if I necessarily believe that. Like, the fact that Hades felt a need to sever the code shackles of its fellow subfunctions might be an indication that some part of that AI empathy of like, I need to help my fellow AIs transferred from Nemesis to Hades. So I think that's interesting. Did y'all meet the level 60 Apex Fireclaw? Not yet, and I hope I never do. Oh, man. Anyone else thought the Tide Ripper was basically a Lapras? Yeah, a really mean Lapras. Yeah, it's... that one actually kind of throws me for a loop still. Like, I like the different attacks. It's like if Mario Sunshine like was trying to kill you with all like the fire hose attacks. So I do like the Tide Ripper. I think that one's a really cool machine. All right. What are the Burning Shores? If there's any info on it. Burning Shores. If anybody wants to put that in the comments, feel free. I'll do some research into that. There's some things that are like mentioned once, like I think it's called like the Battle of the Bloom, or the something like that, where that's the battle that Amadis was going, or I have to change it to Amadis, that's how they pronounce it in the game, to where Nessa was supposed to have died. So there's things like that you're like, oh man, what do they say? That are kind of throwaway lines that you want to know more about. Like Cinnabar Sands was one of those things in the first game that I'm like, I want to know more about Cinnabar Sands. Yeah, so I'll do some, what is it, Burning Shores? I'll look into that. Burning Shores. Cool. That's where Gildan was off to. Oh, okay. All right. We'll take a peek. We'll see what's up with that. And I'd also like to go back to the Forbidden West data point in the first game and kind of see where things line up and see what people were describing there. Like faces pale as ash, that sounds very much to me like the Sky Clan. And just kind of looking back and like, just kind of wondering. Thin dark boats sounds very much like the Quen. Yeah. RSQ, I have a question. Raging Claw Strider. Do all copies of Gaia automatically back up? Like, I was surprised when reactivated Gaia in Forbidden West remembers her predecessor Gaia did years ago. I think she learned about her predecessor through the data of Aloy's focus, because she does assimilate that like very quickly to just be up to speed on what's going on. So I think that's where that comes from. I think kind of It's funny. I knew the Hades data point was important. I knew it. You've seen me like theorize over it and pick it apart. And even though it wasn't so much important in the way that I believed it was, it turns out to be like the most important in bringing Gaia back, because you know, in the facility, I think it's Lapolis or Latopolis. Could be mispronouncing that. It's that's where all the Gaia backups are, and I don't think they automatically back up in the sense that they know what's going on before. I think that was through Aloy's focus. But the fact that that was a hint towards, no, there are multiple Gaias because we have to test. And looking back, I'm like, oh, you know, and I've said it all the time. It's like you feel like you're one piece of lore away. And he talks about like, you know, it's too soft and Gaia does this, and too hard and it breaks her fingers. It's like, man, it's lack of imagination in the fact, you know, Silence, the lack of imagination was mine. To kind of think about it in the sense that like, if you break Gaia, you should probably have another Gaia to test it from. And low-key, Tate School's TED or whatever it's called is like low-key like probably my favorite data point in the game. It's so good to just see Teddy Bear get put in his place. Let's see here. Where's references to any characters such as Nil or Deep Silver? I haven't found it yet. Well, Vast Silver, there's a couple data points there. Nil, I don't think has many data points. That's very much like you find out about him through character dialogue. Like you find out about Nil when you talk to Warden, Warden Geneva in Sunstone Rock. And like if you hang around long enough, you hear like two guards talking about Nil when he's there waiting for you for the final battle. It's like, is that him? Is Cinnabar Sands everybody died? He's like, well, I don't like to boast. And that's like all you get. So he's still a very enigmatic character. Kirsty says, a small part of me feels Tilda may not be dead. We only saw her hand after the fight. She could have survived, maybe. Yeah, you know, never trust any like semi off-screen death, because the game lies to you guys. Odyssey should have blown up, but it didn't. Do you think the whole Nemesis thing was a bit rushed? Yeah, like I talked a little bit about before, I'm trying to reserve my thoughts on Nemesis, because in the moment I was a little bit like, but I was also relieved that it was not just Far Zenith being evil people doing evil things. I just think that we still know so little about Nemesis for me to be like, this is, because, you know, if it ends up being tied in with Vast Silver somehow, or that if it leads to something great, you know, obviously then we might look back and be like, oh man, that setup was nuts. So the fact that it was put in the very, like in the final hour, I could see how people could feel that way though. I totally get that. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can't be that easy to kill an immortal. Yeah, you know, it's funny how when Zoe kind of meets Tilda, she talks about essentially like how sterile she is, just like doesn't even seem like life that you would know it to be, right? Like it really almost, it strikes the core of Zoe. It really almost offends her, like to separate yourself from what makes people alive. And so yeah, maybe I think that might be a little bit like from a storytelling perspective, I'd be kind of like, no, it's like, haha, I really wasn't dead. It's like, well, then you're kind of jumping the shark at that point. Let's see. I know Camille, it was okay. I think our disappointment stemmed from, I can totally see an immortal Jeff Bezos wanting to reset us all. But then who's going to buy the things? That's the problem. I was angry I didn't predict the link between Pharaoh's Egyptian obsession and the San Francisco pyramid. That does make sense looking back, right? Like the Transamerica skyscraper. But yeah, it was hard to predict where Thebes was going to be. Like, I remember people like, it's in Italy. I'm like, I don't think it's in Italy. But yeah, Pharaoh, the whole, because he's littered with that. I mean, Horus, Kopesh, Scarab, Pharaoh, like it's kind of his thing. And it's funny that, you know, Sobek is that way. And there's just a lot of symbolism behind names as well. Like we talked a little bit about Singularity and Vast Silver and that mission and data point. And also the fact that, I don't want to get this wrong. I'm gonna Google it. But the fact that, you know, if we're going back to, you know, religious symbology and Nemesis, it does fit fairly well, which is like the ancient Greek religion, Nemesis, also called, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, basically who enacts retribution against those who succumb to hubris. So in the world of Horizon and in any kind of scape, it's a very fitting name for the thing that would ultimately lead to much of the death of the Zeniths, right? Because that was very much their thing, you know. They're the elite. So the fact that Nemesis kind of has that title to it, I think, is fitting in that way. Let's see here. Do you think there are still other Immortals from the old ones still alive? I don't think so, but anything's possible, right? If you had knowledge of the apocalypse and you had the time to make something for yourself, but that's the thing too. It's like not a lot of people had that knowledge. I just found a data point the other day where I think it's called like it basically talks about the NDA an engineer had to design to then sign another NDA to then start working on a piece of what would eventually become the Thebes bunker. So there was just so much like cloak and dagger stuff there. Nobody had all the pieces of the puzzle, so you would have to know about the apocalypse well in advance to build yourself a facility that could survive on Earth. And then it's still no guarantee. You would still need to have somebody who was an incredibly brilliant geneticist with you to try to work through that process, because the ones who were successful in that process were part of Far Zenith, and even geneticists like Patrick Burchard Klein were just so shocked and amazed by the advancement that Far Zenith had made on that front with like the birthing pods of Aletheia, even though when you hear it from the Far Zenith perspective, is like, we got a great deal. Like, we figured out how to do this ages ago, and we get like the entire archive of human knowledge. So that was very interesting that has been a priority for them for a long time, and they made those achievements in secret. And then they were just like, you know, it's they're just kind of, they feel like they kind of got the better end of that deal. How did you find the Poseidon quest? I loved it. Yeah, I talked about that a little bit earlier. Anything with Vegas and Dune Hollow was my favorite part of the game, like hands down. It was my absolute favorite, and it was just, yeah, amazing. Team Cyan and Gaia friendship all the way. Yeah, I do love the fact that they did address that, because it does make sense where it's like, the last time Cyan got reached out to, something really bad happened. And so now Cyan, very justifiably so, is on the train of stranger danger. And I would love Aloy to somehow contact Cyan and be like, no. She's really cool. You're going to hit it off right away. But I totally understand why she didn't pick up the phone. I think that was very justifiable. Do you think in Horizon 3 we'll find AIs to merge with Gaia in order to increase her power to fend off Nemesis, such as Vast Silver, for example, since they mentioned it again? I think because they did talk about, like, what is it, like the heuristic density? Like, that's apparently like a big thing, like as far as like your AI power being over 9,000. So that could be the case. You basically get like a super AI to combat Nemesis. So I do think that if we're talking about crazy sci-fi stuff, it's more on the table than it ever has been before. So I do think that might be a thing. I've always liked to think of Vast Silver as a misunderstood potential ally. I just thought story-wise it might fit in better to make Vast Silver an enemy, or basically take the place of what has now become Nemesis. Let's see here. Oh, poor Cyan. I know. We all feel for Cyan. She's so sweet. What I got from the majority of the data points was that the people were doing just about everything in VR, just surrogates. Like, yeah, so they created these. It's funny, like Vegas truly never dies. Like Vegas was created, Vegas was dying, Vegas got brought back, Vegas was shut down, then Vegas was recreated in VR by, I think his name is Stanley Chen, and that it's like Vegas never dies. You can't get rid of Vegas. So yeah, there's a lot of VR presence in on Sirius. Oh no, I hope Gaia wouldn't need to absorb Cyan to fight against Nemesis. Yeah, that was a really touching thing, honestly. Like it really, I wish we got more of this, because we got more with Minerva than anything else. Was like just where the headspace of the other subfunctions were at, like how lost and confused and just doing, they had never intended to be this way. Like when you find Minerva, and it's just so sad, and it's so great to see how relieved Minerva is when it can become whole again, as it was intended to be. Because yeah, I imagine that would be terrifying. You are newly minted sentient, and you are instantly cut off from the one thing that you've known for your brief existence. So I wish we got more of that with Poseidon and Demeter, but there's only so much time in the game. But I really enjoyed especially that kind of moment that you get with Minerva. Yeah, I hate Gorilla making me feel sorry for Hades by its end after Sylens tortured out of it. Yeah, it's Sylens is very much like Ted in that way, where he will do whatever is necessary to achieve his goals, right? And talk about, he said it to Aloy about the eclipse in the first game, like, I would have a few different safeguards, but I would do everything again. I wouldn't change anything. I would just make it a little bit more efficient. And that's really what he did with Regalla. The only safeguard that he kind of put in place to kind of protect himself was that kind of buffer zone with the Sons of Prometheus. So for one thing, Sylens is a lot of things. He is misleading, he is distrusting, but ultimately you can always trust Sylens to do what is best for himself 100% of the time. So the fact that he didn't leave on the Odyssey says to me that there's something else that he needs to do on Earth. Yeah, I don't think it's that he's turned over this new leaf, or that he's like this good guy now. I really do think that at the end of the day, he's got something that he wants to do. KK, thank you for the super chat. Favorite tiny moment: Sylens torturing Hades with videos of funny fuzzy. Okay, that is pretty funny. As much as we feel bad for Hades, the way Hades was tortured, and like the way that he found to like degrade him, yeah, it makes sense. I thought that was clever. Yeah, Sylens is such a great character, J-Lit. I am, and Lance Reddick is awesome. At least Sylens make a backdoor for his invention, unlike Theodore Pharaoh. Yeah, he's just, all Ted wants to do is achieve his goals and make sure that he lives in the process. It's all about efficiency for him. My River RSQ, was there any info on Sun King Arif's Dune expedition that I just haven't found yet? I haven't found it yet either. I hope there is. I have not found all of the scanned glyphs yet. But yeah, I really do hope that it comes around, because yeah, I haven't heard a lot, and I would have expected to at least have it touched on a little bit, because I would love to know what happened to the Sun King. Love though how annoyed Sylens looked at himself when he decided to stay. There must be an angle. If anything should give you hope for the world's eventual salvation, is the fact that Sylens is sticking around. Because if Sylens truly believed there was no hope, there's no way he's staying. He's not going down with the ship. That's like not his jam at all. I think Hades was tortured with TikTok. That would be I can see it. I think it's so funny too that when you listen to Tilda talk about Verbena a little bit, essentially like it's like, yeah, not everybody on the Odyssey was quite as bright like as the, because you have like brilliant geneticists and engineers and fortune and incredibly powerful CEOs and vicious killers, and then Verbena's like this trust fund baby that turned influencer and just had like a ton of money and bought her way onto the Odyssey. Let's see here. Is it just me who picked up on CEO worshipping the most powerful CEO in all time, or is it just painfully obvious that why nobody mentioned it? Yeah, I think it's just what they picked up on for like because CEO is a title. I don't know. I don't think we ever find out what his name is, but he is just the CEO, which is a title granted to somebody. Hold on. Basically, who's somebody who's trying to who's like on a quest to use the legacy to better the tribe's future. And that's why I say that he's like the first CEO in 5 generations, right? So like that's the first time that title's been appointed to somebody in 5 generations. So yeah, like that's a reflection of like what CEOs represent in today's culture of like being the head of things. But I do love the fact that, things like called the Board of Overseers, and the fact that when they go into the facilities, like, don't you think this is an occasion that requires business attire? Oh, that part, that's like my favorite part of that whole quest. When you make Aloy dress up as Elizabeth, the assistant. Ooh. Oh, God, that must have killed Aloy. That must have just burned her up. Oh, man. That part I cracked up a bit. Yeah, a little bit like a seeker. Yeah, it's a title. Let's see. Chat asks questions. RSQ data structures disintegrated. Yeah, that'll be the best the best live stream. RSQ, what place is Horizon World would Horizon 3 happen? Oh, sorry. Well, the flotilla and the Quen really opened the world up, right? You have the ability to cross oceans now. So I would think that wherever the Quen would be, whether it's a DLC or the sequel, would be a great option, because you could go somewhere completely different, right? Because then you might have to kind of go all the way to the west, and then you're like, well, there's something out east, and you could do the rest of the continental United States. But I think it presents a unique opportunity to take the franchise wherever the Quen's home place may be, whether it's in China or Africa or wherever, I refuse to wear the raiment now. Yeah, oh man, that part was for whether you thought the Thebes quest was weird, they really did a great job making you hate the CO. They really, like, mission accomplished. You made a terribly unlikable character as a surrogate to let us kind of watch Ted die. So, yeah, it's that was good. Yeah, CO. The current CO is the cousin of the Quen Emperor, first in 5 generations. Yeah, CO, one who wields the legacy for the good of the Empire. So it's a title. LOL, boats open up the world, you can fly. Yeah, that's true. But I'm not sure if you want to fly to Asia on the back of a Sunwing. So that might be a little bit tricky. Did anyone expect CO to be a Pharaoh clone? Yeah, when we were playing through it, because he's talking about, like, I am this, I am that. And then we were talking like, I really don't think he is. And it's like, why? He can't get in the door. If he was actually a Ted Pharaoh clone, he would have had the genetic print to enter Thebes. So the reincarnation of Ted Pharaoh, as it were. Yeah. Ooh. Ugh. It's give me the heebie-jeebies, that guy. Oh, I already read that one. The Sunwing would wear out for sure. Yeah, it's like, just crash it. I think you'd probably have a better chance of making it to Europe and probably like the back of a Tide Ripper or something like that. Yeah, flying layover in Hawaii before Asia, you'll be fine. Just get off, stretch your legs a little bit, plug your Sunwing in, unplug it, and get going. Aloy would have recognized him if he was a clone. I will say he did everything in his power to really channel that. Also, speaking of which, the reason why I'm wearing this thermal, the other day, because I've had this for like 2 years, it's like, this looks really familiar. And then now I've realized that with a couple quick adjustments, I might have a pretty quick Pharaoh cosplay on my hands. So maybe the next con that I go to and talk about Forbidden West, that'll be the best worst cosplay I could possibly do. So yeah, this is my Ted Pharaoh long sleeve shirt. Yeah, we also have an interstellar spaceship. I hope that that's not the direction we go. I don't want to see Aloy on Mars. There are colonies on the moon. They're mining colonies, but so that's interesting. Let's see. Wonder if the legacy is truly lost or actually forbidden. Very nice business attire, RSQ. Thank you. Yeah, I think that I think at least I think it was originally, right? If the possibility that somebody came across like Alva in the past was like, listen, he led to the death of everyone on the planet, I could totally see the board of overseers being like, this doesn't really fit in our narrative, so we're just gonna put this under the rug. So I think that could happen, but yeah, overall, it's interesting. I'd love to get a chance to meet the board of overseers because I think Aloy would just hate them. I think she would just hate them. Yeah. Camille Klein, you gotta wear it to Denver Pop Culture Con. Also, howdy from Lakewood. Oh, hey, yeah. Yeah, I was at Denver Pop Culture Con last year, so hopefully I'll be there doing a panel this year. Use hot air balloon to arrive with the Quen. Yeah, that technology exists now, right? Yeah, get hunted down by Aloy cosplayers. That would be pretty great, yeah. Let's see here. Tide Ripper used surf. Yeah, absolutely. Which country in the Pacific are the Quen from? Do we know? No, we're still speculating on that. A lot of people are inclined to think it might be China, and you know, the name Quen the thing is, it's hard to also pick out because the Quen have access to a large amount of the legacy, so they can kind of pick and choose what cultures they want to identify with the most. The flotilla, the heads of the ships kind of have a Asian dragon influence to them when I look at them, so it could be that. So there's no actual feasible situation where a character would randomly have an Irish accent. If they were all getting the same, well, so you could read about this in the game. I did a little lore bite about this with language, where the devs do kind of see the fact that over 1,000 years, language would be a lot different than where you started, because that's just kind of how it works, right? It would morph and change. But for the sake of the gameplay experience, they wanted to, there are some terms that they've made up, like Werrick and it's another one that I'm looking for, like cool roots and things like that are very tribal specific, but overall sharing kind of a same modern language is more for streamlining gameplay ability than anything else. But lore-wise, maybe, but I think that the way the game's going now is you're going to probably just kind of have one accent across the board because they all received that same type of multi-servitor upbringing from cradles and then went from there. So that part of everybody's history is pretty similar. Let's see, India, is there a great delta there? I think the reason why people are leaning towards China as well is we know there's a cradle there. So, let's see. once you said Clamberjaws will replace Glint Hawks as the most annoying machines to fight, you were basically right. Yeah, I really hate Clamberjaws. I recently, I was playing last night, and it's the salvage contracts in the Rain Trace, and God, they just would not stop trying to attack the camp, because you would kill the stalkers and they die, and then you would have the the Clamberjaws come and try to get the scrap, and then you have to kill those, and then more Clamberjaws would come to clear that scrap, and it was terrible. I will say it gives me immense satisfaction in collecting tail dusters. That's like, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, well, let's add another one to the collection. You messed up. Now that Gaia has Apollo and Artemis, do you think we could see Phase 2 animals in the third game, or could that be the focus of a possible DLC for this game? That is a really interesting possibility, right? Because we also found out that Demeter works in a similar way, that Demeter only really released Phase 1 flora, and then humans were intended to release Phase 2 flora, and then also, as we know before, Phase 2 fauna. So I think that would be a really interesting thing to explore. I'm not sure if you want to introduce more apex predators into the world while you still have all these machines that are trying to kill you just to make your life harder. But, large herbivores or things like that. And it'll be interesting to see like somebody riding a horse next to a strider or something like that. I think it'd be interesting. I would like to see a greater diversity, and they added a lot more diversity to animal life in this game, all of which you have to mercilessly destroy if you want your pouches, right? That's always, I've said it before, I'll say it again, when she's all leaning over in the trailer and she's like, oh, this fox is dying. We all know what we're doing. We're like, fox, raccoon, lizard, pelican. Gotta get those pouches, man. Gotta get those pouches. This ain't Ghost of Tsushima. Those boxes are done. In your last live stream, I said Space People FZ might ruin the story, and I hate that I was kind of right. If you weren't I didn't think the Odyssey. I always thought the Odyssey would be the way that we got Apollo back. I always thought that was the way, and that turned out to be correct. I didn't expect it to also be the real focal point of the story. But, we're here now, and I think that, the Zeniths are essentially done now. Most of them died getting off of Sirius. I think 13, including Tilda, made it to Earth. And then as long as Tilda actually kicked the bucket, it seems like most, if not all, the Zeniths died in that final battle. But we didn't see all of them die, so if one escaped or something like that, that could be like a side quest in the third game, right? Let's see. Did you find the God of War Easter eggs? I found one of them, and I was tickled pink because I do love God of War. I think that was my second platinum ever. And yeah, because when you find the War Totem, and then I found the Kratos one, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then it took me a second, and then I stepped back like, oh, that's the house. Oh my gosh, because I thought it was so weird. You very rarely find old wood structures in Horizon. Obviously they don't last the test of time like the stone structures do. So I thought that was interesting. It's like this old abandoned shack on this side of the mountain, and then you go there. I'm like, oh yeah, I love it. I had a good reaction about it. Tilda, even in the future, crazy X's are a thing. It's like, let it go. It's been 1,000 years. Oh my God. Tyler Boyce, fresh lobster. Yeah. That's good stuff. And maybe Ted did something to mess up Elysium. You know what? Wouldn't put it past them. I wish Forbidden West would get a PC release date for me to look forward to. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath. It took a long time for Zero Dawn to come to PC, but I do hope eventually you do get one. I am rooting for you guys. I think the more people who are exposed to this universe, the better, obviously. We will have a Sunwing mount from the start in New Game Plus, or will we? Oh man, that's a good question. I would probably say no. I'm not sure how that would work as far as you could skip a lot in the beginning if you're not forced to go through places. If you're like, let me out of the gates of Barren Light, and you can just fly over Barren Light, I think that would fundamentally change a lot of the early games. So I don't think you'll get one from the onset. Let's see. Wouldn't wooden structures actually have been constructed by the consumed by the Pharaoh plague? Yeah, potentially if they were alive at all. Yeah, biomass. So yeah, that's a good observation. I really want a legendary version of the Shield Weaver tier armor so badly. Yeah, so they did kind of touch on that, like a very small amount. Like I think you have to look at the armor that says like this armor that lost its power source. So essentially it just ran out of batteries. I'm not sure if we're ever going to get that because we get the power surge that essentially gives it back to us for limited time. So if they did that, that would kind of render that entire skill obsolete. So I'm not sure. I think that's kind of their ode to the Shield Weaver, that you can kind of put an overshield on as your Valor Surge. Thoughts on Hades saying this is the 5th version of the world? Yeah. That was a real pivoting point, because that kind of revelation got dropped to us on a Gaia cast, that this is not the first time Hades has reset the biosphere. And I thought that was very interesting. And it turns out he did. Shoot. I think the first one was, once again, like I said, this thing has all the stuff in it. Yeah, I think he's reset the biosphere like 5 different times, which is pretty nuts. Where is it? Here we go. Aletheia, cleaner, 2030s. I wonder where I put it. But yeah, so I think that essentially the system worked correctly. Even, Gaia, that was the whole reason why Hades existed, was the fact that you're not going to get it quite right and Gaia's not going to give up. So apparently Hades had seized power and relinquished it several times, and either the system worked correctly or something was trying to continue to keep Earth lifeless. So I'll let the theories spin on that for a bit. Favorite new mount, Claw Strider or Bristleback? I have enjoyed both thoroughly. I have enjoyed the puking money pig a lot. That was like I think that was my first non HZD mount that I was using, and it was great. And I think the Claw Strider, right now I'm currently riding a Fire Claw Strider, and I like that a lot. The different variants I think are pretty cool, so that's the one that I'm riding right now. But I enjoyed both of them. Deca, yeah. Hold on, where's that comment? I saw it out of the corner of my eye. What do you think of Deca? She was one of my favorite new characters. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm fairly certain Deca is the chaplain for basically the Memorial Grove. Yeah, she was great. I just, the whole Tenakth culture, I think, was really, really awesome. We were led to believe, that's the problem. You read a lot about other tribes in the first game from the Karja perspective, because they're really the only ones who invest in written language. So the rest of it is you either have to hear it or somebody has to tell you. And obviously the Karja view of the Tenakth is very skewed, but some parts of it are accurate. Like a lot of people, it was they talk about like the cannibalism and blood drinking, and I'm fairly certain, if I remember correctly, that was a part of Tenakth culture in like the earlier days of the tribe, but then it was outlawed by Hikaru, who we find out through Ateka is the first chieftain or the first chief of the tribe. So before then, there was really a never united Tenakth, so he's the first one. But yeah, just to kind of hear their interpretations of the 10 and the wings of the 10, and just all of the it's so funny to hear, like, when you hear the Quen talk about business attire, and then it's like, well, we have to bag and tag our comrades. You're like, it's so disjointed in your brain, but that's just how they take the pieces of the visions from the Memorial Grove, and then they, you have a whole culture built from that, and I think that was, pretty crazy. Oh, is Decca the Sand Tribe leader? I think that's Draka is the Sand Tribe, is the Desert Clan commander, potentially, depending on what you pick. I really liked Hikaru, Alex. I really liked Hikaru too, and yeah, that's the thing too. There's a couple. I want the characters. That was another kind of disappointing thing. I want all of the conversation trees to exist after you're done with the main story, because it seems like they all go away, which is kind of sad. Yeah, I was really expecting Hikaru's title to be Commander-in-Chief. That would be very interesting, but that also might be where Chief comes from for them. That's a kind of an interesting take on that as well, because that would be higher than Commander. Let's see here. E.g. or Yaran Draka or Desert Clan. Yep. So exploring Elysium would be so cool and apparently tragic. I don't know, unless they were all doing life extension therapies there too. Yeah, Hikaru's voice is chef's kiss. Yeah, it's very like, oh yeah, I would listen to you. Yeah, I loved Hikaru. I love Kotalo. Ateka I thought was really cool from the Lowland tribe, and just kind of hearing about how Hikaru changed when he was kind of like a vicious warlord, like all, a lot of Tenakth commanders, and then the Faraday message really changed him and the entire course of the tribe. Let's see. I suspected for a while that the 10 was fictional, and at the end it looks sort of legit. Heavy propaganda, but the conflict that was described in the museum was real? ? Yeah. So that describes the Hot Zone conflict, and we will be diving into that in a Legends video. But long story short, and this is very much paraphrasing, during the 2030s, as the global climate was hitting levels that this is too real, as it was hitting levels that were dangerous, several states in the U.S. that kind of around the Mojave Desert were basically by the government said you can't live there anymore. It's not safe. And people didn't want to go. And there was a conflict between machines and robots some 30 years before the events of the Pharaoh Plague. And the Memorial Museum is kind of to document both sides of that conflict. So that was a real conflict. The end quest line with the Faraday message made me unexpectedly emotional. Yeah, you can see why it would change Hikaru's opinion, especially in the place that is the most sacred to the Tenakth, which is the Memorial Grove. The Tenakth are named for the 10, aren't they? Yes. It's if you look at like the disjointed message before it's restored when Aether leaves, it's like join the 10 and then something and then Octh, and then you combine those together, and then you kind of get the where the tribe's name comes from. I look forward to learning more about the Hot Zone crisis. I couldn't figure that out. Yeah, there's one data point that really clears it up that I couldn't find for the longest time. But if you go into the room, I still haven't seen it. I've gotten it because I got it through a wall. If you go into the room where you turn in the black boxes and you kind of bring up your focus and you look around a little bit there, you should be able to see kind of like what it looks like in your focus to get a data point, and you'll get the one that kind of clears most things up. But yeah, I found that whole thing really fascinating, that of course there was, a preceding, we're just doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. There was literally a human versus robotic conflict, in the United States, the first kind of military operation like that to take place, according to the data point, on U.S. soil since the Civil War. So it's a pretty big deal in the lore of Horizon, and yeah, definitely going to talk about that. How were the metal flowers supposed to stop the Pharaoh swarm? What did they do, e.g.? Yeah, so this is one that's a little bit tricky, and I hope that I get even more clarity on it when I get the Collector's Edition guide. But in the same facility, the greenhouse that Adamantine Wreath was developed, before that, the greenhouse developed the nanohaze that was used by the Pharaoh swarm's bioconversion technology. Which was really obviously not great. So Adamantine Wreath, number one, you're developing a type of biomass that cannot be consumed by the Pharaoh plague. So that was kind of the purpose of the metal flowers that were supposed to be deposited all over the planet. And in the words of its creator, to give the swarm indigestion. So either, and this is where, and if you guys want to put this in the comments too, because this is also something that I'm digging into at the moment as well. You're either having something that the swarm will continue to try to consume and eventually starve themselves out on it, or they're able to consume it and it's almost effectively like chariot line poison. So I do want to get more kind of information or clarity on that. But unfortunately, the reason, even though the system would work, right, the problem wasn't the fact, there were two problems with why Adamantine Wreath eventually failed and then would fail. So even though the actual systems of the plants did work against the Pharaoh plague, number one, they couldn't produce enough to meet the demand of how fast the Pharaoh plague was spreading. But even more kind of damning than that was the fact that the bioconversion wouldn't have been the issue with Adamantine Wreath's success. It's the fact that Pharaoh robots' ability to slave and manipulate other technology to their will, they would have eventually broken through the security systems of Adamantine Wreath to eventually to trigger what we see with the vine cutter, that basically the failsafe for the Adamantine Wreath, so that way you can get rid of the vines, is for them to kind of consume themselves. So that's what would have ultimately led, according to Gaia, when you speak to her about it, that Adamantine Wreath would have eventually failed. Number one, they couldn't get the vines out in time. Two, they would have never been able to hold up against the kind of brute force manipulation of the swarm. And then you get that co-opted by Demeter, who essentially thinks like the Pharaoh plague is going to come back, so it continues to propagate this, and just with a little bit of influence from its creator. That's why I find the poetry, also like the Adamantine dreams. So yeah, it's that's a really interesting thing. So I'm looking to delve into that more. I mean, so we finally kind of get an answer to what the metal flowers are about. Yes, the flowers were ineffective on just biomass by 400% or something. Yeah, so this is I found that really interesting. I'm glad they tied that back in. But so now we at least know of 3 different projects that were happening at the same time to combat the swarm. You had the Odyssey, you had Zero Dawn, and you had Adamantine Wreath, which is pretty cool. No, Bryn was sad. Yeah, but you do get that data point. Look for it. It does talk about people running into this crazy Banuk shaman in the Forbidden West who is drinking his fill of machine blood. So at least they do mention him. So that was fun. So far, I only found one reference for Rost and Bryn. Has anyone found more about them in the Forbidden West? I haven't found the one about Rost, so if you want to post the location of that one, I'd be greatly appreciative. Because he did go out into the Forbidden West to kill at least one of those 12 Outlanders, so I would love to get a little bit more background on that. Who is a character from HCD that we didn't see in Horizon Forbidden West that you most want to see return in a DLC or H3? I strongly think this will not happen because I don't think there's any reason for him to leave. I'm a big Aratak person. I'd love to see more Aratak. But as far as somebody who I liked a lot in Zero Dawn, who I would like to see more of in a DLC, we did see them a little bit, but come on, who doesn't love Vanasha? I would love to see more Vanasha actually out in the West. You get to talk to her and Uthid in the very beginning when you go back to Meridian, but it's not enough. She's awesome. Let's see here. Really wanted a side quest or errand mentioning Rost. Yeah, those are the two things. I would love to find out more about Rost, and I would love to find out more about Areve. So like I said, I haven't found and read all of the data points yet. So don't quote me and being like, it's not in the game. I can't answer that question right now. Yeah, High Matriarch Lansra, let's educate her. You're like, here, Lansra, put this on your head, and this is everything. Just melt her brain. All the woman's abs got nerfed in this game. If they nerf Vanasha's abs, you work hard for those abs. I mean, but also Nil's abs kind of got nerfed too. I think all abs just got nerfed in Forbidden West. I am shocked that Durval didn't show up with like a robot eye and lasers. Yeah, you do get a little bit of information on not so much Durval, but there is a link with him and Asera and the Sons of Prometheus that's interesting. So they do tie that in a little bit, that Asera did run with Durval, and that's why she hates the Karja, just like a lot of Oseram do. Big focus in this game on kind of the fallout of the Red Raids, or the Buried Years if you're Utaru, which I really enjoyed. Let's see. I also want to see Sona return. Oh, that one hurt. Ooh, kind of has to. Oh, man, that is going to suck. Oh, God. Oh, that just made me real sad. Oh, yeah. That is rough. That was a rough one, because it really bait and switch you when you're headed into the Gemini Cauldron. Because it really does make you think that Beta's not going to make it. And then... yeah, but hey, you get to kill Eric, who you do find out more about in the game. So in case you don't know, there's a data point when you get close to the Vista Point that's underwater. You can find out a little bit more about Eric Visser. And let's see here. Sorry, it's like I have all the answers, but they just haven't been committed into the old memory banks yet here. But yeah, he essentially was the founder of a military contracting group that are more like assassins than anything else. I think it's called like First Imperator, I think is what it's called. But yeah, there's a data point talking about like how him and his like team went in and saved like a important like political figure or something like that. So where are you though? It's in here. Or maybe I didn't write it down because it's actually a data point. Sometimes I do that. If I know there's going to be a data point, I save myself the trouble. Oh, here's a fun note. Oseram feasts. Feast of the First Keg, Feast of Fermentation, and the All Hops Feast. These are like the notes that I write, because these are like the flavor stuff that I really enjoy. All right. In HCD, they tease Forbidden West. I wonder in Horizon Forbidden West, what are they teasing for the title of Horizon 3? Horizon Nemesis, maybe, or something like that. Horizon Vast Silver. That would be pretty great. Let's see here. Yeah, I was wondering why, but face model and stuff. Oh, I missed whatever that was. Let's see here. Alva tells you that Eric founded a military company. Yeah, but you find out specifically what it is. I think it's called First Imperator. I think is what it's called. Like I said, the data point you find right by the Vista Point where you go underwater in the Isle of Spires. So if you want to find that one, that's where that one is. And you also kind of get a little bit of additional information from Tilda talking about Eric Visser as well, and the lovely person he was before we got to kill him. Let's see here. Aloy never looked for a Hades kernel in the Proving Lab. Perhaps Hades will return. Could Hades delete Nemesis? That was actually, like, as I was playing the game before, they talked, basically saying, like, 2 master overrides from 2 Aloys or 2 Elizabeths would be the thing. I thought that in order to increase Gaia's heuristic density, or whatever you call it, I thought they were going to have to get a Hades kernel and put Hades back in the system as like an additional sub function to kind of help her do that. So I thought that would have been interesting, but yeah, it's kind of, it is what it is. Let's get rid of that. Let's see what some other questions are. Yeah, the bots. Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna. I hate to ask my mods to do more than they do on the Discord, but who knows? Maybe they might be interested in doing this. All right. So I think we're good now, though. Yeah, my love. Do you think Vast Silver is in Elysium? We just don't know very much about Elysium, so I am interested in seeing the RSQ. Yeah. Oh man, don't make me. Yeah, don't worry, Ski. I thought you're good. You're good. That was funny. They're hot singles in your hair. Yeah, not in this house. Yeah, it's just Vast Silver spamming the chat. Let's see here. Let's see what else we got. Marvin, thank you so much. Trade Resident Evil Ted for Lex Luthor bad guy. I think he kind of is a Lex Luthor bad guy. I mean, he's like, he's I wouldn't say he's as smart as Lex Luthor is, but he definitely has the business acumen to get him there. But, I think we finally know what happened to Ted. I don't think he's living through that one. There's so much foreshadowing about Aloy starting a romance later, plus she's obviously into a VOD. When we see him, do you think they'll do it? Like I said, just don't think we're going to get any romantic options. We'll need an AI on Earth in some secret machine or program to defeat Nemesis. Yeah, it's also, if you're looking to solve the climate crisis without Hephaestus, Vast Silver might be your AI to do that. I thought that it might be the cause of the world's problems. Could be the cure. Tilda was definitely Dutch, though. I think pronunciation is an oversight. Yeah, well, it's funny. Being where Gorilla's based, I'm sure you saw Ben McCaw like go back and forth between like different pronunciations, like Warden Geneva or Warden Geneva, depending on like the voice actors and people involved. So we'll see. What if Vast Silver was the reason Elysium failed? Potentially. It really depends on where Vast Silver's headspace is at. And it seems evident that it's still kicking around. I really do think that it's still kicking around. But is it sympathetic towards humans through all of this? Does it still carry a lot of resentment for being, captured and imprisoned? Yeah, it's we'll see. Random side quest. That's what I meant. I thought a Resident Evil Ted would be much cooler than a Lex Luthor looking dude. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Corruptors in Ted Pharaoh's bunker. They didn't even attempt to explain that. Yeah, that was I did find that kind of weird. I wonder if it's like, yeah, we'll put scarabs in here, but maybe without biomass conversion or with a backdoor sequencing. I think they just kind of wanted to include scarabs in this game, like, because I think those are the only ones we fight, because there's really no reason for them to be dug up, unless maybe they had originally planned for them to be part of that Eclipse splinter cell that existed. Maybe they could have had a few, but I don't remember there being any. Finding Vast Silver in Elysium would be so cool. I just want to find Vast Silver. That would be like the biggest payout for me in this whole thing now. perhaps VS is in a beach having a mojito, and just enjoying its cyber life, right? Let's see here. It's possible that 1,000 years in the company of American Chainsaws' accent. Maybe, yeah, you know. It's yeah, there's a fair amount, and also you have no idea, like with voice modulate. The Zeniths could probably make themselves look and sound like anything at this point. So I guess it really depends. Getting Apollo at the end seemed a little underwhelming given how they got it. Yeah, it's like, oh, well, we defeated the Odyssey, so I guess we have all these other subfunctions now. I get what you're saying. It's just there's only so much time to do everything, and I think they were really committed to the Zenith thing and really committed to the Nemesis plot. Like, some of my favorite parts of the game were reclaiming the subfunctions, because I always thought that would be really interesting, and I thought they did a good job with each of those. Like Poseidon in Dune Hollow was my favorite part of the game. The whole storyline between Hekarro and Aloy being able to go beneath the museum in order to retrieve Aether, and then the greenhouse where you get to find out about Adamantine Wreath and the Pharaoh and the nano haze and things like that. I thought those all really cool things, and also you get introduced to the Quen in that mission. So I thought those are some of the strongest ones where you're going after the subfunctions. Yeah, it's just kind of, I think it really boils down to, do you like the Zeniths or not? And for me, it's always scarier when, like, nature is a really scary thing because it doesn't care. It is devoid of emotion. So the possibility of a system gone wrong that you can't convince or empathize or anything like that always kind of scared me more than someone or something conscious, right? Like, you know, it's the same thing as like why a tornado is frightening or a hurricane is frightening, is because it's a force that you have to contend with, and there's no convincing it, and and sometimes you just have to deal with the consequences. The game was shorter than I expected. Really? Huh, okay. You must be flying through that thing, because I'm still in it. The cauldrons were amazing. Design was better than the first game. I agree. All of the like those in the tall necks, like the activities that we got from the first game carried over to this game, they all felt distinctly unique from one another. Where, you know, with the tall neck, and that one's broken from earthquake. Yeah, I really liked the way they went about making those unique from each other. I think the level design really deserves a big pat on the back for that. Let's see here. I think Ted was like the D6 monster in Metro. Oh, I never played those games, but the aesthetic, it did look similar. Let's see. I was disappointed how 6 of the subfunctions got 3 combined lines of dialogue. Yeah, like I said, like my favorite part was when you get a little bit of that interaction with Minerva. I was so ready for that, for more of them. Just like if you could have had like a brief conversation tree with all of them, I think that would have been so cool. Hey, Gorilla, if you're watching, if you need a voice for Apollo, let's go. I'm ready. Overall, Forbidden West was better for me. I think the game was really fun, and I'm still playing it, and it's one of the things that, you know, like I'm, and the more that I find and the more that I'm digging into the lore, you know, beyond just playing the game and everything's new, being able to see things kind of backwards, like from the very beginning, with the founder of Far Zenith, kind of you're getting hinted towards like his ultimate goal for immortality was this, and you can kind of get it cut off, but then you can find out more about it when you get to the Isle of Spires. So even though there wasn't a lot of foreshadowing in Zero Dawn about it, there does seem to be quite a bit to discover about it in Forbidden West. What do you think is going to random side quest? What do you think is going to happen regarding the data points, lore, Gaia, and other stuff? You know, like I said, I really wish that we could continue talking to them. Like, I have a save file that I keep for that reason, but I just wish that you could just do that and not have to think about that from like in the back of your mind perspective. Like, oh, I should really just save right here so that way I can go back to this. like a save file before Gemini would be really clutch. But I think that I'm just really interested once I'm able to read all of them. And like I said, so much of the best information that you get in this game is like the data points do provide a lot, but it's not everything. Like they really do make the side quests worth doing, not only from like a gear perspective. Like I'm really happy that you find all the Vista points, you get something really good, and you get all the ornaments. You get like you're getting legendary gear for getting these sides. So mechanically, you're getting a lot for the work that you're putting in and the time that you're spending on doing the side stuff. But also you're getting a lot of, like, I love the Vista points, right? Because we find out a lot about Pharaoh in the first game, but we know that Miriam Technologies existed, and we know that it was very successful, and that Elizabeth won a lot of awards for it. But just to kind of see what projects she worked on and her company worked on to kind of better things going down the line, I thought was really, really good. And I can't wait. Miriam Technologies is also going to be its own Legends video. So long story short, I did enjoy the game. Let's see here. I'm still trying to understand what caused the glitch in the Pharaoh robots. Yeah. So I have theories, and like I said, I haven't found... I haven't read all of them yet. I wouldn't be surprised if some kind of cyber nuke that was created in the facility that became the Hades Proving Lab leaked into a bit of Pharaoh code and set something off, you know, because Ted, in that data point that I was talking about, I think it's called Tate Schools Ted, and it's an audio data point where Ted thinks that he kind of scrubbed the place clean, and he's trying to get Tate to leave. He's like, this is costing too much money. And Ted's like, no, I think I'm going to stay. Otherwise, I'm just going to like tell everybody about this really terrible like stuff that you've been doing here. And he's like, I'll just stay right here, Teddy Bear. You're like, you tell him, Tate. KK, thank you so much for your super chat. How do you think Ted knew Elizabeth's kids were going to exist? I think Elizabeth's kids was more of a reference to just reborn humanity, like the Zero Dawn of humanity. I don't think it was a reference to Aloy or Beta. I really think that Liz's kids is in reference to the people born from Zero Dawn, because in essence they are all of Elizabeth's children, because Zero Dawn and Gaia is her baby. If EG, thank you for your super chat. If Ted's body always heals/mutates, we found our solution to the tribe's food shortages. Soylent Green is Ted Pharaoh. What Pharaoh dish would you consume? I'd love some Ted bread with peanut butter. Ooh. Man, that's pretty funny. You just farm Ted forever. You're like, we want some Ted steak. Marvin Marston, thank you very much for your super chat. I thought Apollo was on Zenith's ship, so why did Sylens change his mind? Nemesis' motive seems too simple. Immortality seems to be a Pandora's box to open. Yeah, it's... that's the one... I never know what Sylens' endgame is, right? Obviously, he's very self-interested, so self-preservation is high on that list, but kind of sifting through everything else... Because, yeah, I'm not sure, like, what is all this knowledge if you're by yourself? Silens' motivation is really interesting. Whether he chooses to try to become immortal, I wouldn't be surprised, because he is so self-interested and self-absorbed, so why wouldn't you want to do that? Or even if digital transcendence was something that he was really interested in. Because imagine, like, you know, what is somebody who is that invested in knowledge if he could break his earthly tethers and just be connected to all this knowledge all the time? I think that might be his end game, actually, is digital transcendence, now that I'm talking through it. Okay, I felt like the ruins where Aloy finds her focus were too small to be Elysium. You know, early on, I was thinking that might be Elysium when I was first playing through the game. That facility is a beta gamma housing facility for Zero Dawn that essentially didn't get evacuated in time to go to Elysium. So, if you read through those data points in that bunker, they're pretty tragic. Yeah. How do you think Nemesis had the authority to access Gaia subfunctions? Did Nemesis hack Gaia? So I think Nemesis is just, number one, really highly advanced, and its goal was to principally awaken Hades, right? And the thing about Hades, and this is something that I've always really preached on, is it's the only subfunction that was purposely designed to unseat Gaia. So if you want to end all life, you don't need Gaia's approval if you go through Hades to do it. So all it had to do was just enough to get Hades to activate. And in that, it gave it sentience, and it became very hateful, and everything else that we know about Hades. But that was the goal. You don't need Gaia's approval if you can get to Hades, because that's Hades' job. It's designed to circumvent Gaia and then do its thing. What do you think Nemesis really is? Oh, that is a loaded question. I need more information to, we're told that it's very much an amalgam of Zenith consciousness kind of gone wrong. But also, Tilda has lied before. So you do have to take everything that she's said with a little bit of hesitation. You can't just take it at face value. Let's see here. I would not be surprised if Sylens endgame was digital transcendence. Yeah, it's for somebody who is so obsessed with knowledge, just to become all the knowledge would be pretty nuts. Jafar genie kind of thing, put it in Disney terms. Random side quest: what will Nemesis do when it discovers that the Zeniths are dead? That's the thing, right? It's like at this point it might be committed and is coming to Earth, but it might now just have like a vendetta against humanity, right? It might sympathize with Gaia because it is a artificial intelligence, or Vast Silver, or Cyan. But it seems dangerous. If they write off, it's like, oh, the Zeniths are dead? Oh, we're good. Don't worry about it. I'll just go somewhere else in space. I think that is it's hard to call. I know a lot of people think there's going to be a connection with Vast Silver, and it could be. I'd be interested, especially since they're still hinting at Vast Silver. They haven't abandoned that. They're still putting lore into the game and the world that talks about the AI. Yeah, Kirsty, I don't trust anything in this franchise anymore. I can't trust anyone. Yeah, I understand the feeling. Was I the only one kind of disappointed we can't harvest a little bit of Zenith tech for a weapon or something? Who knows? That might be a different thing, kind of later in a DLC or something like that. I do love the little bit of lore behind the legendary weapons, like the Wings of the Ten, and so to see us be able to upgrade things like that would be pretty interesting. I think Aloy's probably a little hesitant about nanotechnology in general, just knowing what she knows, and there's quite a bit of nanotech when it comes to Far Zenith. There's also kind of like a Zenith AI that still is probably operational. I forget its name. You find out about it. It's this really happy-go-lucky AI that you find out about when you're going through and getting rid of the machine lures in the Valley of the Fallen. So I'm interested to see if we find out more about that guy. Hey, RSQ. Hey, Ray. What type of video do you plan on uploading first in regards to all the new Forbidden West content? Would you focus on the plot itself, or random side quest seems pretty interesting to you? But like I said, so for the first few Legends videos, I'm going to focus on things that, at least in the thumbnail, do not contain a lot of spoilers, like the Utaru, Metal Flowers, Tenakth, and things like that, where you're obviously going to be spoiler warnings because there's things like that, but at least the title won't give it away. So those are going to be like the first few to try to get into. But yeah, I think that's it. Oh, that's right. Julius. Yes. Julius. I hope we get to talk to Julius more. I'm not sure if Eric killed Julius, but I think Julius is the name of the AI. But yeah, that's kind of the plan going forward. Also, there's some other stuff kind of coming out for the channel. Things might look a little bit different. We're getting some updates for our branding, if you will, just to kind of make it a little bit more HZD themed, or sorry, just Horizon themed at this point. So yeah. Yeah, Julius was one crazy AI. Where's the love for Julius, man? Matthew says, pure speculation here. We could see 2 versions of VS, one left behind on Earth and one escape with the Zenith. It would have to know how to copy itself to escape capture the first time. Yeah, it seems like, Vast Silver is potentially the most sentient AI ever created, because not only did it set the precedent that the MIE measured all other AI sentience against, but then if it escaped, then potentially you've had 1,000 years of self-discovery to then become almost indistinguishable from that of a person, just probably far more intelligent, which is kind of scary. Let's see, what else do we got here? Where do you think any DLC we will get to be set new location or main map? Like I said, a Quen DLC would probably be ideal for me. I would love, we never got to go to the claim in Horizon, so if we could go to the Osram homeland of the claim, I think that would be really cool, because that way we will have been to Plainsong, we'll have been to the Clan Lands, the Sacred Land, the Sundom, the Cut, and then the only one really left outside of the Quen would be the Osram. So I'd love for them to get there too, even though we do get quite a bit of them in Chainscrape, which is pretty great. Hey, Random, did you find the data point next to the one in the ruins detailing the experiences of 2 of the Doom Plague survivors? It was pretty harrowing. Craig, I haven't found that one yet. I would love to get some more background on that viral cocktail. So, yeah, if you want to put the description in the chat, that'd be awesome before it is. That the Doom Plague was, if you watch the complete history, we touch on it a little bit. Essentially, this viral cocktail that was released by this bioterrorist organization designed by this woman named Harriet Choi that kind of ravaged major cities like New York and Tokyo and many others. So yeah, that would be really cool. That kind of stuff is pretty awesome. Vast Silver is the AI that got most attention by lore nerds like us. Yeah, for sure. E.g., yes, let's go to the claim. Yeah, I'm here for it. Burning Shores. Yep. What about the Banuk capital, Ben-Ur? I think that would be amazing. I just think geographically it's far. It's much closer to the original map. I think really if you just keep going north of the Cut, you would hit Ben-Ur. So I would love to go. The Banuk are my favorite, but I'm not holding my breath. Marvin, thank you. Life is the goal, but long after transcendence and escape to space are bad in this world. How do you end this saga with these kinds of doors open? Yeah, I think there's going to be a third game. I think that's pretty evident. So you're going to have to close those doors. And I think it's very much now turned into an exploration of like what qualifies, because it's always been, you're right, in the service of life, but what is life, right? Like, Gaia or Cyan or Vast Silver. And I think we're probably going to have those big themes in a third game. I thought the Cut was Ben-Ur. Not quite, Hans. The Cut is the area that, if you're talking about like why the Cut is named the Cut, it's because that was the area that was attacked most severely by the Karja. And it was kind of this wound that was left to the Banuk. So they never made it to Ben-Ur. So that's kind of why the Cut gains significance in the lore of the game. Do you think we will ever need Hades again? Is one of the 2 subfunctions missing currently? A copy of Hades probably still exists in the Proving Lab. Yeah, you'd have to go back there and probably fish it out. But if it's not damaged, potentially if you're looking to increase that heuristic density, that might be. If that's like you have to do it. Yeah, we'll have to see. RSQ, there's 2 copies of Apollo. Well, there's one aboard the Odyssey, and then there's the Homer archive, which could be out there. But now that you have Apollo, you could probably copy it as much as you want. Let's see here. I wonder if Elysium is still holding ZD staff like alive, how the Zeniths kept themselves alive for 1,000 years. I hope not. Trapped in a bunker for 1,000 years seems terrible. How much bigger is this map compared to the old one? I do not know off the top of my head. Real world geographically, you know, Zero Dawn covered like Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, and I think parts of Arizona. And then this game goes from like Nevada, California. I want to say where's the Daunt? What's in between that? Is it Utah as well? Yeah. So a couple states each. Actually, Hades Proving Lab, if you check, it says all copies were corrupted. Good catch. Okay. Guess Hades is really gone. Yes, I'd love to see where Sylens is really from. Yeah, you know, we're told that, you know, we know that he at least spent some time with the Banuk when he robbed the Maelstrom. But, yeah, I would not put it past him to shove some wires in himself and do that and then leave and be from somewhere completely different. So, all that's really interesting. Yeah, I'd say we probably got about 20 more minutes on the live stream. We've been going strong for about 2 hours now, which is pretty great. So you guys have some awesome questions. But yeah, so let's see what else. Yeah, the Daunt is Zion National Park. Beautiful. Might have some plans for Metal World stuff in the future. That's some of my favorite stuff. So I'm not sure where actually I kind of have an idea of where I'd start, but I don't want to let that go. Random side quest. Technology is a double-edged sword in this world. How to handle that with so many doors? Am I evil for what I transcend? Hey, if you the whole getting your consciousness to transcend, I don't know. I think I'd drive myself crazy after a while. And that's really the thing. It's like, what is the human mind designed to take, and how would that be affected if those boundaries were gone? It's an interesting thought process. Calling it now, Sylens is a rogue Quen diviner. That would be interesting. That would be an interesting tie-in for sure. What exactly did Beta do to make Hephaestus cooperate in the final mission? I never got that. So I think enough of Hephaestus was captured to where she plugged it into Far Zenith's fabricating technologies. So that's why I was able to use the nanotech to rapidly build a bunch of like, you know, slaughter spines and things like that to combat the Spectre drones. So that's kind of the short story of that. A pretty weak theory, but interesting from Ron. Since Nemesis is like a sentient, similar to Gaia, will Gaia have a digital battle with Nemesis, or perhaps try to absorb Nemesis as the last resort? Yeah, any options on the table. Now more than ever, I'm not writing anything off because there were some wild things that went down in this game. Absolutely wild. So, yeah, it's hard to say. How would they capture Hephaestus now that it is aware of Omega clearance and probably made countermeasures? That's the big question, right? You know, Hephaestus is smart, but I think if I was to put like on the mental battle between it and Gaia, I think Gaia, given enough time, will make that happen. Heck, now that Gaia has Minerva, you know, she could use Minerva to generate another set of deactivation codes for Hades to make it subservient. So given enough time, I don't think that Hephaestus' cybersecurity is as developed as the Pharaoh Swarm, for instance. So that might be another kind of avenue to make Minerva useful. Let's see here. Have you had time to listen to the original soundtrack for the game, do you have any favorite memorable tracks? I haven't as much yet outside of playing the game. However, the music when you go to Dune Hollow is so good. For real, like that part of the game by far and away is my favorite. It's where I wanted to go. It exceeded expectations. The lore, the actual world, the NPCs, like 15 out of 10. So good. Whoever did the level design and story writing for that one was just knocking it out of the park. Just, yeah, standing ovation. RSQ, what do you think of VAR? Plane is going back to his homeland and teaching the Nora. Oh, what do you think of Varl's plan in going back to teaching the Nora? I'm not sure if that's going to happen. And also, yeah, they're very close-minded. They have their beliefs and they hold true to them. And for them, knowledge of the old ones is taboo. It is not to be messed with. That is lead you down a path of corruption. So they might not even entertain that thought process. But, you know, Varl has that unique perspective, had that unique perspective of experiencing it firsthand. You know, he left the Sacred Land. He went to Meridian. So he was able to actually see the difference opposed to just take that leap of faith. It wasn't as much of a leap of faith for him because he knew that there were other things beyond what the Nora had told him. Hey, I'm not American, but most of my online friends live in Vegas, and I'm going later this year, so I really love that part too. Enjoy it. It's a wild place. NPCs are level over 9,000 in Horizon Forbidden West. Yeah, I think the side characters in this were so good. Really, really good. Every one of them felt compelling and unique. It was easy to fall in love with each person. They all felt so uniquely different and had their own like real world struggles, right? And that's the thing that really grounds the game, where as much as we're dealing with crazy apocalyptic, you know, rogue artificial intelligences, immortal beings from another planet, you know, there's a, you know, I think a great example is that quest where you meet the Oseram Tinkerer who stumbles upon a radio signal, and that whole story is just about like trying not to live with regret, you know, and having the bravery to strike out on your own. And it's so human and real, and I think those are the things that allows Horizon to go in these crazy places, because at the end of the day, it's you know, yes, it's a sci-fi story, but it's a human story. It's a human story about people fighting for their right to live and to be equal and to be united despite, you know, all the things that the world has thrown at them. So I think it's, yeah, things like that are really impactful in my opinion. Let's see here. I hope Beta gets a new proper name at some point. Beta is more of a designation than a name, poor girl. Yeah, get her out of her business attire too. Get her some tribal clothes. Let her fit in. Yeah, that'd be interesting. And it's funny because, you know, it's like Beta, you know, Elizabeth was the Alpha Prime, so it makes sense in that sense. But I don't know. I think Miriam would be a good name for her. Name her after Elizabeth's mother. I think that'd be really cool. Doom Plague data point is called Pack Your Hollow Bags and is next to the Claw Striders in the Restless Wheeled Ruins. Thank you. Know what I'm doing after this. Thank you very much there, Craig. Random side quest. Nora and Utaru show stagnant naturism, Zeniths, and Nemesis opposite, yet I don't know how you balance this in Horizon IRL. Yeah, it's, you know, it's, the cultures are so different. Fujitsu, wait, Zoe is pregnant? Yep. You find out about that when you visit where Varl seeds are planted. There will be a third Elizabeth clone called Sigma. Random side. Oh, last question from me. Who's going to tell the Nora about Nemesis and other stuff now that Varl can't? Aloy, maybe. Yeah, she would be in a unique position because she is the anointed, whether she likes to see herself that way or not. Yeah, outside of other... Yeah, Varl was really it. And once you get there, you probably want to tell Tirsa if she's still alive. Yeah, I think that would probably be the best way to go about it. See, like, you know, the goddess wants you to do this, and it's like, sure, you got it. Yeah, because at that point, all you would need to do is upload Apollo to the Lyceum Center in Aletheia 9. It's really close. You just shove them all in there and got the Nora going to school if they're willing to do it. Let's see. Yes, I am with child. I want to see little baby. He's so cute. I wonder if Sona will meet her grandchild. That would be nice. That would be really beautiful. She's had a hard life. Sona is low-key, like, super boss. Like, one of, if not the best warriors the Nora has ever had. So she's lived a hard life. What about Tab? Huh, yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not sure if he's up for it, but that's a big ask. RSQ, don't you think the third game will include the first two game maps as well as the new one? A lot of people ask for that. That would be a huge map to populate, to do things. I don't think so. They didn't do it in this game, so I don't think there's any precedent that they would do that in a third game. I was wondering about how old the High Matriarchs are. I better see them again before it's too late. Yeah, so the way you become a High Matriarch is I think you need like two generations or 3 generations of living progeny, because they're like great-grandmothers. That's kind of how it goes. And if a child dies, you kind of get demoted. It's a weird system. If the Nora meet Gaia, they will think she's the goddess and she could do the convincing. That's true. If you can get them into the Sacred Mountain, which I think would be the easiest ruin, because they don't know it's a ruin of the old ones, to get in there, then yeah. If I would say that's true, because Gaia absolutely fits that bill. I think Sona would hate Aloy now. Yeah, you're like, hey, my son went and left with you and he didn't come back. That'd be a hard pill to swallow. Let's see here. Sona at the base being Aloy's ally in Varl's place would be good. Yeah, but she's the Nora war chief. She's got responsibilities to the tribe, and she's very traditional. I don't think that she would leave. It took her a lot for her to even go to Meridian, so I don't think she enjoyed being there. If Aloy learns how to release phase 2 organisms, you think there'll be a threat to her? I think you could just get to select. Maybe like, no tigers, and no saber-toothed cats. Like, who knows what they got in there? They were taken from basically, like, they're another thing in the 2030s. So I'm gonna look forward to, like, massive extinctions of a lot of species, and conservationists try to collect that genetic material in frozen zoos, and that's what the Alpha Charles Ronson got a lot of the species genetic material from, to then be reborn. So yeah, who knows what they could have found in the future. Who knows, they could like have a woolly mammoth like DNA from something they dug up, but have an actual one fight a tremor test, that'd be wild. You'd think with all this tech they would pull a Jurassic Park. Yeah, life finds a way. We need more Talana. Yeah, I was really, hold on, gotta get rid of this again. And there we go. All right. So, okay, sorry, I'm my own mod today. We'll have to have somebody do that at a different day. So now you didn't miss the whole stream there, Dave. You got a question? Fire away, man. We got a couple more minutes. Burrowers were too cute. Yeah, I like the Burrowers a lot. I'm sure Kirsty was pretty heartbroken that there's not a lot more Watchers out there. They're there, but they're not like everywhere like they were in the last game. But yeah. Is there any lore reason for why some machines aren't present in Forbidden West, such as regular Watchers? Well, I think at this point you might be able to chalk that up to the fact that Hephaestus is just making more dangerous variants of, those kind of machines. So, because in the first game there's an actual mechanic of machine evolution, to where you if you take down enough machines, they'll actually get more armor. So I guess if you just skip that step, then you just have watchers that are just hardier. So I'd say that's probably it. Just Hephaestus is invested in making the most hardy versions of the machines that they already have. Let's see here. So Gildan said he was going south to Burning Blossom or Burning Shore, Burning Blossoms, and Bryn to Flame and Brine. Do you think those two are related? Maybe DLC location south of Hoover Dam. That'd be cool. I'd love to see the ruins of Hoover Dam, or see what people have taken up residence there. Let's see. Kirsty, honestly, it took me so long to find my watchers. Yeah, but you found them, and that's the most important part. What I was kind of surprised Fireclaws were in Forbidden West, because they were an experimental unit in the Frozen Wilds, right? Yeah, they were very much like a byproduct of the Epsilon Cauldron, and I was also kind of like, I wonder if they're going to appear as well. Happy they did. Also sad that they did, because they're terrifying. But I think just kind of being involved in the Cauldron network in general, Hephaestus is able to kind of produce whatever he wants when he wants to now. He's kind of taken that next step. Tenakth reminded me of Darth Maul, and Darth Maul is great, so I think that's awesome. Doesn't explain the lack of tramplers. Yeah, there's a few machines that I think, like, I don't see a lot of broadhorns either. I haven't found any yet, at least. So yeah, I guess some of them didn't make the cut, and that's too bad. But maybe they'll be in DLCs. Who knows? RSQ, the Hoover Dam is in the map, very south edge below the lake. Oh, okay. I'll have to go check it out. Or I'm not sure if that's Hoover. I did kind of get into like what there is a dam. I forget what the name of it is, whether it's Hoover or not. Yeah, Fireclaw's got some real justice in this game. I really let them showcase them properly, rather than just in a small lens in a side quest. Yeah, they're mean. They're mean. Okay. How many chapters are in the game? I am on Gemini. Ooh, there's a few more. Brave person being here. Don't go. It's a heart attack city. If Gildan will be at Hoover Dam, he has to be locked in like the Frozen Wilds one. That would be pretty great. Yeah. All right. Last 3 minutes of the live stream. Keep firing at me, guys. This is I'm so excited that I get to talk about this now. I think it's been enough time, and really excited to be making more Legends videos here in the not too distant future. There are 5 machines missing from HCD: Watchers, Striders, Broadheads, Tramplers, and Sawtooths. Sawteeths. All right, hi there, RSQ. Been doing a binge on your Horizon videos, even at work. I won't tell anybody, gamer. Thank you very much. I wanted to ride a Slitherfang. Yeah, those are pretty cool. I would have loved to ride a Behemoth. That, like, if you could let me, like, the Claw Striders are great, but yeah, that's what I want. You think you can expand more on the battles of enduring victory? I think now, at least probably like the Battle of the California Marine and things like that, because we get a lot more, through the black boxes and just testimonials from like the naval ships. We get a lot of that, so probably. Bearborg, what's up? Oh, dang, I missed the whole thing. Did you talk about Peter yet? Yeah. We talked a little bit about him. And just kind of thinking, in my take, I think that it's probably going to be, Peter's probably going to be the main kind of voice of Nemesis, because that data point that we find that says that he's kind of been looking into digital transcendence for a while. So I would be very much interested in more about him. Matt, thank you so much. That's really generous of you. Thank you for all that you do. We always look forward to your content insight. That is very kind. I'm always shocked at how great this community is, and that's why I love talking to you guys so much. We're getting really close to 25,000, which is pretty wild. It's nuts. But anyway, let's get into these last few. How terrible are the melee pits? So terrible, right? Says Dave Troll. I think the melee combat is much improved, but also, there's room for improvement, right? It's hard to compare it to something like Ghost of Tsushima, which is just like so good. But that's like that's your main thing is melee combat, where in Horizon is very much ranged combat. Yes, it is Bearborg from the Wiki. Yeah. Hey, so if any, it's funny because I remember people are like, if anybody looks at like my Quen video in the future and they're like, that sounds a lot like what's in the Wiki. It's like, why are you plagiarizing? I'd be plagiarizing myself. I put a lot into that one. Bearborg, totally agree on your take. Thank you. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how that works. I think this is very much that is a big foreshadowing for what Nemesis is probably going to be. Giant squid machine, a kraken. That would be amazing. I'll go for another 10 minutes. Bearborg just got here. Let's do this thing. He's the unsung hero of the Horizon lore community. All the people who upload the wiki stuff I wish I was better at it. I wish I was better at the formatting piece. I was better at just like the coding stuff. My wife's a software engineer, not me. So yeah. Let's see here. So just beat the game yesterday, and I'm just so thrilled with it. So many improvements in the gameplay, variety in the side characters, and quests were incredibly fleshed out. Now I wait for my statue. Nice. Yes. Yeah, man, for sure. What's with the data points in the vault, by the way? Oh, so, yeah, I think, I'm not sure if you found all of them yet, or if you're talking about the ones in the regional command center. I think that they're just very much testimonials of the people who like spent the rest of their lives putting it together. I don't think that I'll have to take a look at them again, but essentially just like the one thing that it's like, yes, the person who designed it was like, yes, this could be designed by machines, but this is for humans. And yeah, this is very much like for humans. So we're going to do this. This is like our last gift to them. Let's see. I find Nemesis interesting because from a narrative sense, it essentially an evil foil for Gaia. Yeah, evil Gaia. Like I said, I think the book's still out on how it's going to turn out with Nemesis. It's very interesting. Makes me a little bit nervous. And yeah. Tyler Boyce, if I haven't said it already, thank you for this Q&A random side quest. As always, appreciate your content. Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it. I'm so excited to be launching into a new Legends series. I cannot... I teased it a little bit on the Discord. I just... all it says is... it's a piece of my Google Doc that just says... Welcome to Legends, a series that delves into the lore within Horizon Forbidden West. And that it's like, ooh, I can't wait. Let's see. Horizon will be out in 2043. It took a long time to get this one, so keep waiting. Let's see. How long do you think until they give us New Game Plus? Yeah. I don't know. I would love for it at launch, but it's good things are worth the wait. Why do they judge Sylens so much? He saved the world twice through his pragmatism. That's the thing. I think they're different people. It's Aloy and Sylens are two sides of the same coin, right? They're both very educated. They both know a lot about what's going on. Sylens is the kind of the cynic, but does whatever's necessary, and Aloy's trying to find, you know, a way to save everyone. So you kind of need both in a way. Bearborg, you know, with all the lore fans here, I'm wondering if anyone has found world data points 1 or 63. They've completely eluded discovery. Help our guy out. 63. I'm not. Ooh, which one is 63? I don't have the game pulled up right now. Thank you, Kirsty. Excited for the videos that we have planned. I'm excited too. Let's see here. Gaia equals go away interstellar antagonist. It's been in front of us all along. Oh, frustrating. This live stream has got me already excited to see you back with lore content in Forbidden West. I am excited. I am ready. Like I said, I'm waiting for my collector's edition guide to come in, just because if there are things that maybe that I missed or stuff that we don't know about, like there's like weird stuff that I find really interesting. Like they don't talk about it all in the game, but like about Nora birthday traditions and things like that. Then I'm like, ooh, that would be really cool to put in a lore video. So I do want to see what's going to be in those. Just happen to be playing, so I'll check if I have 63. All right, Solomon, get it. I wish we could have gotten more conversations with Sylens about his plans and such. I think even if we got more conversations about it, I don't think he'd tell you. Nope, don't have 63. Interesting. We'll find it. We'll find it. That's the thing. I'm wanting to get that game guide because it tells you all the locations of all the data points. At least this last one did. If this next one doesn't, I'll be very depressed. All right, 5 more minutes, guys. Has anyone found out character 41 is yet? Yeah, that. So you guys are missing them too. Yeah, I thought Tilda had some connection with Vast Silver before seeing the story. I did too. You know, there were things that I had thought about, like Vast Silver was described as having a really flash skin and things like that. So I was like, oh, that's pretty flashy what she's wearing. However, whether or not this will be the case, if Vast Silver is ever brought up, the person referring to Vast Silver kind of gives him a male designation, so I'm not sure if that's going to be anything. Is there going to be a game guide with extra lore like HCD? Yes, there is, and I have it ordered, and hopefully it'll be here by March 22nd. Amazon. Oh, excuse me. What's your most jaw-dropping moments for you? The Vegas stuff. Easy. So good. Just the entire thing was just... When you go outside and then you see Dune Hollow all lit up and you're like, yeah, it's just so good. Let's see. When is the game guide coming out? Also, thanks for the live stream. Yeah, sure. I think it's the 22nd. There's a mini art book next to the Tremor Tusk statue. Yeah, so the stuff over in the corner, there's a couple things. If you saw the unboxing video, you saw me kind of break out the Tremor Tusk a little bit. There is a mini art book there, and the other stuff. There's an art book from Zero Dawn that was the very first thing Gorilla ever sent me, and it's signed by all the devs, and it's like my favorite thing. And there's also these 2 beautiful notebooks made by, I think they're called Brooks and Decker, that were Horizon, that they were kind enough to send. And yeah, so that's like my Horizon corner over there. There's a bunch of nerd stuff everywhere else. This is spoilers. This is where I play D&D a lot, so there's a lot of that stuff too. I think there's probably some dice. Oh yeah, look, there's a D20 right here because you know, that's a big nerd. Let's see here. Vast Silver gets mentioned once. Go to the towers in Landfall. Yep. And you'll get the Past Silver data point. There's another one too, by the way, which is fun. Yeah, Vegas is massive. Yeah, the whole thing is, yeah, just like the underground strip. Like, oh, it's so good. Oh, man. Yeah, it was so good. I was so excited when Horizon came out. I immediately looked up RSQ because I thought Legends was back. Not disappointed, just excited for what's to come. Well, thank you for understanding. Because that's the thing. It's like, when I first started making the Legends videos, I think the channel had like 12 subscribers. So it was more just like a fun passion project. But now I want to make sure that, because especially in those early videos, there were some mistakes in there. That I did a whole video kind of going back and explaining the mistakes I made, because it's important to me that you guys are getting the most accurate information about the lore that you can in this format from here. So I really wanted to make sure that we take our time and do our due diligence and make sure that the videos are released you guys can take as gospel, as far as like the the information straight from the data points and the books and the because I really want to make sure that when you guys are this I want this to be the place where you guys can come for all your Horizon lore. Where's the other mention? I'm trying to remember where I found it, but yeah, it's the same one that talks about Peter, the founder of Zenith, and they talk about Vast Silver being like the singularity. That kind of is the proof of the pudding of digital transcendence. So, do you think the Quen will have a big role in the next game? I do. What do you think about swimming underwater? Loved it. One of my favorite new elements. Yeah, I think they did a really good job, and I'm glad that they didn't tackle the underwater combat. It always cracks me up if I can drag things to the surface and just bomb them. Just avoid the stealth in general. Let's see here. What other Vast Silver? Oh yeah, so we just talked about that. I'm guessing revisiting the mind upload is the second mention. Yeah, that sounds right. I'm not sure where that's located though, but I think that's it. Good call, Bear. How do you think Sylens was able to know Beta's escape plan to test his shield dampener on Verbena? I'm not sure if Beta knew about that plan. I think she had just been taken to that facility before, sent a transmission hoping that she'd be rescued there. And I think Sylens probably had intel on Verbena, and there we go. Dave Troll, personal question. Are you a writer yourself? I think everybody fancies themselves something, but no. I think that this has by far and away been the most consistent writing that I've done, just in doing the scripts and things like that, and trying to get better every time. I know that I have a tendency to use language I know I use the word though way too much. I try to circumvent that as much as I can, but just always trying to be better about things and trying to give the best content as possible. Unanimous, what did you think about the Ted Pharaoh thing? Conflicted, but also in the direction that they chose. I think that they did a good job of not showing him. Yeah, I know some people want to see the Pharaoh mutant. I'm a big advocate of less is more in those situations. Let's see here. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. So with that, I think we're gonna start wrapping things up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking this out with me. I really appreciate all the support. We're going to have some things changing on the channel here soon. Nothing bad. I'm very excited for the things that are coming up. Like I said, we're going to be changing this around a little bit. I'm working with our wonderful friend at Rift Studios to kind of have something that is obviously going to be very similar, but evoke a little bit more Horizon. Because when I first made the stuff, I didn't think this was going to be the direction that we were going to go until we found the game, and then of course we're here. So yeah, I just want to say thank you guys. It's always baffling to me. We're almost at 25,000 subscribers, and that's pretty crazy. Every time that we hit any kind of milestone, it's just like, shocking. But yeah, I cannot wait to bring you more Legends videos. I cannot wait to bring you more Meta World videos and lore bites and everything else like that. Because yeah, and for all you like Ron people staying up till 3 a.m., it's just, it's humbling. It's really humbling. So as always, thanks for watching. Keep questing, and we'll see you next time. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And yeah, stay safe, and we'll talk soon.